on the cold concrete barrier of a glittering Houston estate, beneath strings of warm lights and distant laughter. Elara Vance sits alone in an emerald dress that bites into her skin like a punishment she never chose. Inside, her sister's wedding blazes with celebration, but Elara has been erased from it. Mascara streaks down her face as she stares at one contact on her phone, Cade Rowan, the one person who ever made her feel seen. Her thumb trembles, then presses call. One ring. "Where are you?" His voice cuts through the night, calm, controlled, dangerous. "Please, come get me." A pause, then, "I'm on my way." No questions, no hesitation, just certainty, the kind she's never known. If you want to see how this story ends, stay with me until the very last word. Hit that like button and comment with your city so I can see how far this story travels. Now let me take you back to where it all began. 6 months earlier, Elara Vance stood in her small bakery at 5:30 in the morning, hands coated in flour, eyes burning from lack of sleep. The shop wasn't much, just a cramped storefront wedged between a dry cleaner and a nail salon on the east side of Houston. But it was hers. Every mixer, every cracked tile, every stubborn oven dial. Hers. She piped buttercream onto a 3-tier wedding cake with the kind of precision that came from years of practice, the kind of focus that kept everything else quiet. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She ignored it. It buzzed again, and again. Finally, she glanced at the screen. "Mom, we need to talk about Sienna's wedding cake. Call me." "Mom, this is important, Elara." "Mom, don't ignore me." Elara set down the piping bag and exhaled slowly through her nose. Her shoulders ached, her lower back throbbed. She'd been standing for 3 hours already, and the day had barely started. She wiped her hands on her apron and called. Her mother picked up on the first ring. "Finally, I've been trying to reach you all morning." "It's 5:30, Mom." "Well, some of us have been up since 4 planning your sister's wedding." Her mother's voice had that edge, sharp, precise, designed to cut. "We need to discuss the cake." Elara leaned against the counter, already exhausted. "What about it?" "Sienna showed me some photos. We're thinking 8 tiers. Fondant, gold leaf, hand-painted florals. Something elegant. She's sending you the Pinterest board." 8 tiers. Elara closed her eyes. "Mom, that's..." "She's your sister, Elara. This is her day." "I know, but 8 tiers is what? Too much work? You run a bakery? This is what you do." "It's not about the work," Elara said quietly. "It's about the cost. That kind of cake, materials, labor, delivery, we're looking at least $4,000. Silence. Then her mother laughed. Not a warm laugh, a disbelieving one. "You're going to charge your own sister for her wedding cake?" Elara's jaw tightened. "I'm not charging her, I'm just saying that's what it costs. I'd give her a discount, obviously, but a discount." Her mother's voice dropped into that cold, clipped register that Elara had learned to fear as a child. "Your sister has been nothing but supportive of you. She came to your little shop opening. She tells all her friends about you. And now, on the most important day of her life, you want to nickel and dime her? That's not what I... Do you know how embarrassing this is? Do you know what people will think if they find out you charged your own family?" Elara pressed her palm against the counter, feeling the cool steel beneath her skin. "I have overhead, Mom, supplies, rent. You can't just support your family? Is that what you're telling me?" The words hit like a slap. Elara opened her mouth, then closed it. There was no point. There was never any point. "Fine," she said finally. "I'll make the cake. Thank you." Her mother's tone shifted instantly, brightening. "I knew you'd do the right thing. Sienna will be so relieved. Oh, and we're thinking a tasting next week. I'll send you some dates." The call ended before Elara could respond. She stood there in the empty shop, phone in hand, staring at nothing. The wedding cake in front of her looked delicate, beautiful, perfect. She wanted to smash it. Instead, she picked up the piping bag and kept working. 3 days later, Elara was elbow-deep in fondant when the bell above the door chimed. She didn't look up. "We're not open yet. Come back at 9. "I'm not here to buy anything." The voice stopped her cold, low, smooth, controlled. Not the usual delivery guy or early bird customer. She glanced up. The man standing in her doorway looked like he'd walked out of a different world. tailored black suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. Dark hair swept back, sharp jawline, eyes that took in every detail of the room in 2 seconds flat. He didn't belong in her cramped little bakery. He belonged in boardrooms, in penthouses, in places where people spoke in numbers that had too many zeros. "Can I help you?" Alara asked, trying to keep her voice steady. He stepped inside, moving with the kind of ease that came from never doubting his right to be anywhere. "You're Alara Vance?" "That's what the sign says." His mouth twitched, almost a smile. "I'm Cade Rowan. I saw your work at the Bennett wedding last month." Alara blinked. The Bennett wedding. That had been one of her better jobs, a 4-tier ivory cake with sugar flowers that had taken her 3 days to perfect. "Oh, thank you. I'm hosting an event in 6 weeks. Private, about 40 guests. I need a centerpiece dessert." "What kind of event?" "The kind where first impressions matter." He moved closer to the display case, studying the pastries inside with the same intensity he'd studied her. "I don't do mediocre, Ms. Vance. I do exceptional. Your work at the Bennett wedding was exceptional." Alara wiped her hands on her apron, suddenly aware of the flowers streaking her forearms, the chocolate smudge on her jaw. "What exactly are you looking for?" "Something that tells a story. Something people will remember." He looked at her directly. "I'll pay double your normal rate." She almost laughed. "You don't even know my normal rate." "I do." He pulled out his phone, scrolled for a second, then showed her the screen. It was her website, her pricing page. "You undercharge." Heat crept up her neck. "I charge what the market doesn't dictate your value. Your skill does." He pocketed the phone. "I'll pay $12,000 for the dessert display. You have creative control. The only requirement is that it needs to be extraordinary." $12,000? Alara's brain stuttered. That was more than she made in a good month. That was 3 months of rent. That was breathing room. "Why me?" she asked. "Because you care." He gestured at the cake she'd been working on. "Most people in your position would cut corners. Use cheaper materials. Simplify the design. You don't. I can see it in every detail. You care about the work." Something in her chest tightened. When was the last time someone had noticed that? When was the last time someone had seen her, really seen her, and recognized what she poured into every creation? "I'm in," she said. "Good." He pulled out a business card, heavy stock, embossed lettering, and set it on the counter. "I'll have my assistant send over the details. And Ms. Vance?" "Yes?" "Don't undersell yourself. Not with me. Not with anyone." He left before she could respond, the bell chiming softly in his wake. Alara stood there, staring at the business card. Cade Rowan, CEO, Rowan Enterprises. She picked it up, ran her thumb over the raised letters, and for the first time in months, she smiled. The event was in 4 weeks when her mother called again. Alara was experimenting with a chocolate sculpture when her phone lit up. She almost didn't answer, but family training ran deep. "Hi, Mom. We need to finalize the cake details. Sienna's been asking." Alara set down her spatula. "I'm working on the design. I'll have sketches by Friday." "That's not what I'm calling about." Her mother's tone shifted. "We need to talk about the engagement party." "What engagement party?" "Sienna's engagement party. This Saturday, at the house. Didn't she tell you?" Alara's stomach dropped. "No." "Well, you're invited, obviously. 6 o'clock. Dress nicely. Sienna's fiancé's family will be there, and we need to make a good impression." "Mom, I have a work thing on Saturday." "Cancel it. I can't just—" "Alara." Her mother's voice went cold. "This is your sister's engagement party. You will be there. You will smile. You will be supportive. Do you understand? The same old script, the same old expectations." "Fine," Alara said. "I'll be there. And please, try to look presentable. Wear something flattering. Maybe do something with your hair." The call ended. Alara stared at her phone, jaw clenched so tight her teeth ached. Wear something flattering, as if everything she owned wasn't already chosen with that exact criticism in mind. As if she hadn't spent years trying to shrink herself into something her family could accept. She picked up the spatula and went back to work, hands shaking. Saturday came too fast. Alara stood in front of her closet, staring at the row of carefully chosen dresses. Nothing too tight, nothing too revealing, nothing that would invite her mother's comments about her weight or her sister's pitying glances. She settled on a navy blue dress, simple, modest, forgettable. The party was already in full swing when she arrived. Her parents' house glowed with soft lighting and carefully curated elegance. Servers moved through the crowd with trays of champagne. Laughter bubbled up from clusters of well-dressed guests. Alara stepped inside, scanning for familiar faces. Her sister spotted her first. Sienna floated over, radiant in a white cocktail dress, engagement ring catching the light. "Alara, you made it!" They hugged, brief and performative. "You look amazing," Alara said, because it was true and because it was expected. "Thank you. Isn't this incredible? Marcus's parents went all out." Sienna gestured around the room. "Come on, I'll introduce you." The next hour was a blur of handshakes and small talk. Sienna's fiancé, Marcus, was exactly what Alara expected. Handsome, polished, from old Houston money. His parents were pleasant in that distant, assessing way wealthy people often were. And then there was her own family. Her father cornered her near the bar. "Alara, good to see you." "Hi, Dad." He glanced at her dress, then her face, then away. "Your mother tells me you're making Sienna's wedding cake." "That's right." "Good. Family should support family." He sipped his scotch. "How's the bakery doing?" "It's doing well, actually. I just landed a major client." "Oh?" His tone was polite but disinterested. "That's nice." And that was it. No follow-up questions, no curiosity. Just, "That's nice," and then he was scanning the room for someone more important to talk to. Alara drifted to the edge of the party, finding refuge near the dessert table. She picked at a chocolate-covered strawberry and watched her sister glow under the attention of a room full of people who adored her. "You look miserable." Alara turned. Her mother stood beside her, champagne glass in hand, smile fixed in place. But her eyes were sharp. "I'm fine," Alara said. "You're hovering by the dessert table like a wallflower. Mingle. Talk to people. This is your sister's night." "I have been talking to people." Her mother's gaze swept over her, critical and cold. "That dress does nothing for you. I told you to wear something flattering." The words landed like stones. Alara felt her throat tighten. "I thought this was appropriate." "Appropriate isn't the same as attractive, Alara. You're representing this family tonight. You could make an effort." Before Alara could respond, Sienna appeared at their side, all smiles. "Mom, Marcus's mother wants to talk about the rehearsal dinner. Can you—" "Of course, darling." Her mother's face transformed instantly, warm and bright. She touched Sienna's arm and they disappeared into the crowd together. Alara stood there, chocolate-covered strawberry, crushed in her hand, feeling invisible. She left early. No one noticed. The next morning, she threw herself into work. Cade's event was in 2 weeks, and she'd been sketching designs obsessively. She wanted something bold, something that would silence every doubt she'd ever had about her abilities. She was testing flavor combinations when her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Cade Rowan. Do you have time for a call?" Her pulse quickened. She wiped her hands and dialed. He answered immediately. "Ms. Vance." "Mr. Rowan." "Cade," he corrected. "I wanted to check in on the progress." "It's going well. I have 3 concept sketches ready. I can send them over." "I'd rather see them in person. Are you free this afternoon?" She glanced around her tiny kitchen at the chaos of ingredients and half-finished experiments. "Sure. What time?" 2 o'clock. I'll send a car." "A car?" "I can just drive. The car will be there at 1:45. His tone left no room for argument. "See you soon." He hung up before she could protest. At exactly 1:45, a sleek black car pulled up outside her shop. The driver, a quiet man in a dark suit, opened the door without a word. Alara slid into the back seat, feeling absurdly out of place. The interior smelled like leather and money. Classical music played softly through hidden speakers. They drove for 20 minutes, winding through Houston's upscale districts until they reached a high-rise downtown. The car pulled into a private garage. "Top floor," the driver said, his first words to her. The elevator was glass and steel, rising so smoothly she barely felt the movement. The doors opened directly into a penthouse office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city, minimalist furniture, abstract art on the walls, everything sleek, expensive, deliberate. Cade stood by the windows, phone to his ear, speaking in low, clipped tones. He saw her and held up one finger. Alara waited, clutching her portfolio. Don't care what the timeline is, find a solution. He ended the call and turned to her fully. Miss Vance, thank you for coming. Alara, she said. If you're Cade, I'm Alara. That almost smile again. Fair enough. Let's see what you've created. She spread the sketches across his desk. 3 different concepts, each meticulously detailed. Flavor profiles, structural diagrams, visual mock-ups. Cade studied them in silence, his focus absolute. He picked up one sketch, the most ambitious design, a sculptural piece that would take days to execute. This one, he said, that's the most complex. It'll require, I know what it requires. That's why I want it. He looked at her. You're second-guessing yourself. I'm being realistic. You're being afraid. His voice wasn't cruel, just matter of fact. You can do this. Stop talking yourself out of it. The words hit something deep inside her, some part that had been waiting for permission to be bold. Okay, she said quietly. Good. He set the sketch down. Have you eaten? The question threw her. What? Lunch. Have you eaten lunch? No, I was working. He picked up his phone, sent a quick text. We're eating, and then you're going to tell me why someone with your talent runs a bakery that barely breaks even. Excuse me? I did my research, Alara. Your overhead is too high, your prices are too low. You're working yourself to death for margins that don't make sense. He gestured to the seating area near the windows. Sit. Let's talk business. She should have been offended. She should have walked out. Instead, she sat. Lunch arrived 15 minutes later. Thai food from a restaurant she'd never heard of, delivered by another silent assistant. Cade pushed containers toward her with casual efficiency. Eat first, then we talk. They ate mostly in silence, the city sprawling beneath them like a living map. Alara couldn't remember the last time she'd sat down for a meal that wasn't scarfed between orders. Your website, Cade said finally, setting down his fork. When was the last time you updated it? A year ago? Maybe? Your pricing? 2 years. Your overhead has gone up in 2 years. Flour, butter, rent. Everything costs more. But your prices stayed the same. Alara felt defensive. I can't just raise prices. I'll lose customers. You'll lose the wrong customers. The ones who don't value your work. He pulled out a tablet, tapped a few times, then turned it toward her. This is what comparable bakeries in Houston charge for custom wedding cakes. You're 30% below average. She stared at the numbers, feeling sick. I didn't realize. You don't advocate for yourself. You undercharge because you're afraid people will say no. You take on projects that don't make financial sense because you're afraid of disappointing people. He paused. Like your sister's wedding cake. Her head snapped up. How did you say? You mentioned it when we first met. 8 tiers, fondant, gold leaf, hand-painted details. That's a $6,000 cake minimum. But you're not charging her, are you? Alara's face burned. She's my sister. So? So family doesn't charge family. Family doesn't exploit family either. His voice was quiet, but sharp. They're taking advantage of you. You don't know my family. I know you left an engagement party early last weekend looking like someone had gutted you. I know you've been working 18-hour days to keep a business afloat that should be thriving. I know talent when I see it, and I know when someone is being diminished. The words hung in the air between them. Alara's hands trembled in her lap. Why do you care? Because I recognize potential when I see it, and I hate waste. He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You're better than this, Alara. Better than the cramped shop. Better than the clients who haggle over cupcakes. Better than a family that treats you like an afterthought. Something cracked inside her chest. She looked away, blinking hard. I need to go, she said, standing abruptly. Alara, thank you for lunch. I'll have the final design ready by next week. She was halfway to the elevator when his voice stopped her. You're allowed to want more. She didn't turn around, didn't trust herself to speak. The elevator doors closed and she rode down in silence, heart hammering, eyes burning with tears she refused to let fall. The next 2 weeks passed in a blur of sugar and sleepless nights. Alara poured everything into Cade's dessert sculpture, a towering creation of spun sugar, chocolate architecture, and edible flowers that looked like it belonged in a museum. It was the best work she'd ever done. She also started the sketches for Sienna's wedding cake, though every time she looked at them, she felt sick. Her mother called 3 times a week with updates, changes, new requirements. The 8 tiers became 9. The gold leaf needed to be real gold. The florals needed to match the exact shade of Sienna's bouquet. Each conversation drained a little more of Alara's energy. On the night before Cade's event, she was doing final touches on the sculpture when her phone buzzed. Cade, everything ready for tomorrow? Alara, yes. Delivery is scheduled for 3 p.m. Cade, I'll see you there. She stared at the message, fingers hovering over the keys. Then, before she could second-guess herself, she typed, "Thank you." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Cade, for what? Alara, for seeing me. The dots danced for a long moment. Cade, I've always seen you, Alara. The question is when you'll see yourself. She set the phone down, throat tight, and went back to work. Cade's event was held in a private gallery downtown, all white walls and polished concrete, the kind of space where art and money intersected. Alara arrived early with her team to set up the sculpture. It took an hour to assemble, every piece placed with surgical precision. When it was done, she stepped back and looked at what she'd created. It was perfect, stunning, undeniable. Guests began arriving at 6. Alara had planned to leave before the event started, but Cade found her as she was packing up. "Stay," he said. "I'm not dressed for... Stay." Not a request, a certainty. So she stayed. She watched from the edges as Houston's elite circulated through the gallery, champagne in hand, eyes drawn again and again to her creation. She heard the whispers, the compliments, the request for her card. Cade appeared at her elbow, 2 glasses of champagne in hand. He offered her one. "You did this," he said quietly. "We did this. You commissioned it." "I commissioned it. You brought it to life." He touched his glass to hers. "Stop diminishing yourself." They stood together, watching the crowd, and for the first time in years, Alara felt something she'd almost forgotten: pride. The calls started the next day. 5 inquiries from people who'd been at Cade's event, 3 commissions, 1 offer from a high-end wedding planner who wanted to put her on retainer. Alara sat in her tiny office, staring at her email inbox, trying to process what was happening. Her phone rang. "Cade, did you get the referrals?" he asked. "Yes, Thank you. This is... Don't thank me. You earned this." A pause. "How's your sister's cake coming?" The question punctured her rising excitement. "It's... coming." "Alara, I'm working on it." "When's the wedding?" 5 weeks? "And when do they expect the final design?" She closed her eyes. 2 days ago." Silence on the other end. Then, "You're stalling." "I'm not. You're stalling because you don't want to do it, because every time you work on it, you're reminded that they're taking from you without giving anything back." "They're my family." "Say that one more time and maybe you'll believe it." Anger flared in her chest. "You don't understand." "I understand perfectly. I understand that you're trapped in a pattern that's killing you. I understand that you're so afraid of being rejected that you'll accept crumbs and call it love." "Stop." "Why? Because the truth makes you uncomfortable? Because you don't get to tell me how to feel about my family." "You're right. I don't." His voice softened. "But I can tell you what I see. And what I see is someone extraordinary being treated like she's ordinary. Someone brilliant being made to feel small. Someone who deserves everything settling for nothing." Alara's vision blurred. "I have to go." "Alara." She hung up, and then for the first time in months, she let herself cry. The wedding was 3 weeks away when Sienna asked to meet for coffee. They sat in a trendy cafe in River Oaks, Sienna glowing with bridal excitement, Alara feeling like a shadow beside her. "So the cake," Sienna said, pulling out her phone. "I have some updated ideas." Of course she did. Alara listened as her sister scrolled through Pinterest boards. describing elaborate changes that would require starting over from scratch. Can you do that? Sienna asked, looking up with those wide, innocent eyes. It'll take time. But you can do it, right? I mean, you're the expert. She reached across the table, squeezing Alara's hand. I'm so lucky to have you. Most people have to pay thousands for a cake like this. There it was, the casual reminder of what Alara was giving up. Yeah, Alara said quietly. Lucky. They finished their coffee, made plans for a cake tasting, and hugged goodbye. Alara sat in her car afterward, hands gripping the steering wheel, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. Cade, dinner tonight? She stared at the message, something warm and dangerous stirring in her chest. Alara, why? Cade, because I want to see you. Simple, direct, no games. Alara, okay. He took her to a quiet restaurant on the west side, the kind of place that didn't need to advertise because the people who mattered already knew about it. They talked about everything except her family. He asked about her inspiration, her process, the moment she knew she wanted to create beautiful things. She asked about his work, his company, the empire he'd built from nothing. My parents died when I was 16, he said, swirling wine in his glass. Car accident. I went into foster care, aged out at 18 with $200 and a high school diploma. Alara stared at him. I had no idea. Most people don't. I don't advertise my history. He met her eyes. But I learned something important. Family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up, who sees you, who fights for you when you can't fight for yourself. And who did that for you? A teacher, Mr. Harrison. He saw something in me, helped me get scholarships, wrote recommendations, believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. Cade set down his glass. He died 5 years ago, but I think about him every day. That's family. Alara felt something shift inside her. My family showed up to my bakery opening, she said quietly. Stayed for 20 minutes, took photos for social media, then left. Did they ever come back? She shook her head. That's not family, Alara. That's performance. The truth of it settled over her like a weight. They left the restaurant and walked along the sidewalk, Houston's humid night wrapping around them. I feel like I'm drowning, Alara said suddenly. Every day, just drowning. Cade stopped walking, turned to face her, then let go of the anchor. I don't know how. Yes, you do. You're just afraid of what happens when you sink first before you float. She looked up at him, this man who barely knew her but somehow saw everything. What if I can't do it? She whispered. What if you can? He reached out, fingertips brushing her cheek, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Then his phone rang. He pulled back, checking the screen. I have to take this. She nodded, wrapping her arms around herself as he stepped away. When he returned, his expression was unreadable. I have to handle something. Let me take you home. The drive back was quiet. When they reached her apartment, he walked her to the door. Alara. She turned. You're stronger than you think. Remember that. Then he was gone, and she was alone again with the weight of everything she couldn't say. The wedding was 2 weeks away when her mother called with the final blow. We need to talk, her mother said, voice tight. In person. They met at the family house, the sprawling property where Alara had grown up feeling like a guest in someone else's home. Her parents sat across from her in the formal living room, faces grave. We're selling the house, her father said. Alara blinked. What? We're downsizing, moving to a condo downtown. It's time. When? We close in 6 weeks. We need you out by then. The words didn't make sense. Out? I don't live here. Your storage unit. In the garage. All your old things. Her mother waved a hand dismissively. We need the space cleared. That's not... Alara stopped, recalibrated. You're selling the house 6 weeks after Sienna's wedding? The timing worked out. Her father shrugged. The market is good right now. No discussion, no warning, just a decision made without her, about a space that had never really been hers anyway. Is there anything else? Alara asked, voice hollow. Her mother frowned. Don't be dramatic. We're giving you 6 weeks' notice. Alara stood. I need to go. We're not done. Yes, we are. She walked out, got in her car, and drove. She didn't know where she was going until she was parked outside Cade's building, fingers trembling on her phone. She called. He answered on the first ring. Elara? Can I? Her voice cracked. Can I come up? I'll meet you in the lobby. 5 minutes later, she was in his penthouse, the city glittering below, tears streaming down her face as she told him everything. He listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, What do you need? Not, what can I do? What do you need? I don't know, she whispered. Yes, you do. And suddenly, she did. She needed to stop carrying other people's expectations like they were her own. She needed to stop making herself small to fit into spaces that were never meant for her. She needed to choose herself. The realization cracked something open inside her, something that had been locked tight for years. Cade reached out, pulling her into an embrace that felt like safety and strength and everything she'd been denying herself. I've got you, he said quietly. And in that moment, held by someone who saw her completely, Elara finally believed it might be true. Elara woke the next morning in her own bed, eyes swollen, throat raw from crying. Sunlight cut through the blinds in sharp lines. Her phone showed 6 missed calls from her mother and a string of texts from Sienna about cake tasting schedules. She turned the phone face down and stared at the ceiling. The feeling from last night, being held by Cade, being seen, had faded into the cold reality of morning. She was still the same person, still trapped in the same patterns, still expected to show up and smile and deliver a 9-tier wedding cake for free while her family sold the house without consulting her. Her phone buzzed again. She ignored it. Then it rang. Not her mother this time, Cade. She answered. Hello? How are you feeling? His voice was steady, grounding. She closed her eyes. Like I got hit by a truck. Understandable. Have you eaten? No. There's a bag outside your door. Breakfast. Eat something. She sat up. You didn't have to. I know. Eat anyway. A pause. I have meetings all morning, but I'm free this afternoon. Can you come by the office around 2? Why? Because we're going to fix this. Cade, 2 o'clock, Elara. Don't overthink it. He hung up before she could argue. She opened her door. Sure enough, an insulated bag sat on her doorstep. Warm croissants, fresh fruit, coffee still hot. A small card tucked inside. You're not alone in this. Something in her chest cracked open again. She ate slowly, mechanically, tasting nothing. Then she showered, dressed, and opened her laptop. The bakery orders stared back at her. 3 custom cakes this week. 2 dessert tables. Sienna's wedding looming in 12 days like a storm she couldn't outrun. 12 days. She opened a blank document and started writing. Not a cake design. Something else entirely. Set. At 2 o'clock sharp, Elara walked into Cade's office building. The same driver, the same elevator. The same view that made Houston look small and manageable from 40 floors up. Cade was waiting, jacket off, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He gestured to the seating area. Sit. She sat. He pulled out a legal pad covered in his precise handwriting. I spent the morning making calls, 3 real estate agents, 2 attorneys, and a financial advisor. Elara's stomach twisted. What? Why? Because you need options, and you need them now. He flipped the pad around so she could see. Here's what I learned. Your parents are selling the house for $2.3 million. They bought it 22 years ago for $400,000. That's a nearly $2 million profit. Okay? You lived there for 18 years. You contributed to household expenses during college. You stored your business inventory in their garage rent-free until 2 years ago. He tapped the pad. In some states, you'd have grounds for a claim on financial contribution to property value. Elara's head spun. Are you suggesting I sue my parents? I'm suggesting you understand your position. Knowledge is leverage. I don't want leverage. I want... She stopped, unsure what she actually wanted. What? To keep being their emotional punching bag? To keep sacrificing everything while they take and never give back? They're my family. Cade leaned forward, elbows on his knees, eyes locked on hers. Then why do you look like you're drowning every time they call? She had no answer. He let the silence stretch, then continued. Here's what else I learned. Sienna's wedding has a $250,000 budget. Venue, photographer, flowers, dress, everything top tier. Except the cake. The cake is free. Because family. Heat flooded Alara's face. How do you know that? I asked around. Houston society isn't that big. He sat back. Do you know what message that sends? That your work has no value. That you have no value. Stop. Why? Because it's true? Because you're making me feel worse. Good. Feel worse. Feel angry. Feel something other than resigned acceptance. His voice was hard, unforgiving. You want to know what I see? I see someone with world-class talent working herself to death for people who wouldn't cross the street for her. I see someone who's been gaslit into believing she's lucky to be included in a family that treats her like hired help. Alara stood abruptly. You don't know what you're talking about. Then prove me wrong. Show me one thing, one single thing your family has done for you in the last year that wasn't performative. She opened her mouth, closed it, searched her memory. Nothing came. Her mother's calls were demands disguised as requests. Her father's disinterest was a constant. Sienna's affection was conditional, offered only when Alara was useful. The realization hit like cold water. Cade watched her process it, his expression unreadable. I'm not trying to hurt you. I'm trying to wake you up. To what? The fact that my family doesn't love me? Congratulations, I already knew that. No, to the fact that you deserve better. And you're the only one who can choose it. Tears burned her eyes. I'm making the cake. I committed to it. Then make the cake. But after that, you walk away. It's not that simple. It's exactly that simple. You just don't want to do the hard part. She grabbed her bag. I need to leave. Alara, thank you for the research and the breakfast, but I need to go. She was halfway to the elevator when his voice stopped her. When you're ready to stop running, call me. I'll be here. She didn't turn around, just stepped into the elevator and rode down, tears streaming silently down her face. 3 days passed in a blur of sugar and sleepless nights. Alara threw herself into work, taking extra orders, staying at the bakery until 2, 3, 4 in the morning. Anything to avoid thinking, avoid feeling. Sienna called twice. Her mother called 5 times. She ignored them all. Finally, her mother showed up at the bakery. Alara was piping roses onto a birthday cake when the bell chimed. She looked up and went still. Her mother stood in the doorway, designer handbag over one arm, sunglasses pushed up into her perfectly styled hair. She looked around the cramped space with barely concealed distaste. You've been avoiding my calls. Alara set down the piping bag. I've been busy. Too busy for your own sister's wedding. I'm making the cake, aren't I? Her mother's mouth thinned. We need to finalize details. The tasting is tomorrow. You confirmed, then didn't show up. Alara's stomach dropped. Tomorrow. She'd completely forgotten. I'm sorry, I got confused about the date. Confused? Her mother stepped closer, lowering her voice even though they were alone. What's going on with you? You look terrible. Are you sleeping? I'm fine. You're not fine. You look... She paused, studying Alara with clinical detachment. Have you gained weight? There it was. The knife slid between the ribs with surgical precision. Alara felt the familiar shame flood through her. I've been stress eating. I'll handle it. Well, handle it before the wedding. I don't want you standing next to Sienna looking like... She waved a hand. Just take care of yourself. Is that all? Her mother's expression hardened. Don't take that tone with me. I'm your mother. I'm allowed to be concerned. Concerned, right. Alara picked up the piping bag again, hands shaking. The tasting. When is it? Tomorrow at 3. Don't be late. And please, make an effort with your appearance. Sienna's fiancé's family will be there. She left in a cloud of expensive perfume, the bell chiming mockingly behind her. Alara stood there, piping bag trembling in her grip, vision blurring. Then she hurled the piping bag across the room. It hit the wall and exploded, buttercream splattering everywhere. She sank to the floor, back against the counter, and finally let herself break. Her phone rang. She almost didn't answer, but the name on the screen stopped her. Cade. Hello, she said, voice wrecked. Silence. Then, where are you? The bakery. Are you alone? Yes. I'm coming over. Cade, you don't have to. I'm already in the car. He arrived 15 minutes later, letting himself in through the unlocked door. He found her still on the floor, surrounded by ruined roses and spilled buttercream. He didn't say anything, just sat down beside her, back against the counter, close enough that their shoulders touched. They sat in silence for a long time. My mother came by, Alara said finally, asked if I'd gained weight. Cade's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice level. And what did you say? That I'd handle it, because that's what I do. I handle it. I absorb it. I make myself smaller so everyone else can be comfortable. You know that's not sustainable. I know. She laughed bitterly. I know a lot of things. Doesn't mean I can change them. Yes, it does. He turned to face her. You can walk away, Alara. You don't owe them anything. I owe them the cake. I said I'd do it. So do it, and then walk away. What if I can't? What if you can? He reached out, fingers gentle under her chin, turning her face toward his. What if you choose yourself for once, and the world doesn't end? She looked at him, this man who'd entered her life like a storm, and refused to let her drown quietly. Why do you care so much? Because I've been where you are, and I know what it costs to stay. His thumb brushed her jaw, and because when I look at you, I see someone extraordinary pretending to be ordinary to make other people comfortable. It's a waste, and I hate waste. I'm scared. Good. Fear means you're about to do something that matters. He leaned closer, and for a breathless moment, Alara thought he might kiss her. Instead, he pressed his forehead to hers. You're not alone, he said quietly. Whatever you decide, you're not alone. The cake tasting was a disaster from the moment Alara arrived. She'd spent all morning preparing 5 different flavor combinations, each one carefully crafted, perfectly balanced. She loaded them into her car with shaking hands and drove to her parents' house. The dining room was set up like a tasting event at a high-end venue. White linens, crystal water glasses, expensive china. Sienna sat at the head of the table, Marcus beside her, his parents flanking them. Alara's parents occupied the other end. Everyone looked polished, put together, like they were posing for a magazine spread. Alara set down her containers. Sorry I'm late. Traffic was... Let's just get started, her mother interrupted. We're on a tight schedule. Alara swallowed and began laying out the samples. Vanilla bean with raspberry, chocolate with espresso ganache, lemon with elderflower, almond with cherry, red velvet with cream cheese. Sienna picked at the vanilla sample with her fork, took a tiny bite, then set it down. It's good. Just good? Alara asked. It's fine. A little sweet, maybe? Marcus tried the chocolate. This is excellent, really rich. His mother tried the same piece and wrinkled her nose. Too rich for my taste. What about something lighter? They worked through each sample, opinions flying, contradicting each other, no consensus forming. Alara's father didn't even try the red velvet. I don't like red velvet, never have. Then why did I make it? Alara asked. Sienna requested it. Sienna looked up, surprised. I did? I don't remember that. Alara's mother waved a hand. It was on the list. Anyway, I think we need to start over. These flavors are all wrong. Something inside Alara snapped. Wrong how? Her mother blinked. Excuse me? Wrong how? Too sweet, too rich, too light, too dark. You're giving me contradictory feedback. I need specifics. Don't take that tone with me. I'm not taking a tone. I'm asking for clarity. I've been working on these samples for days. The least you can do is give me useful feedback. Silence dropped over the table like a weight. Marcus's mother shifted uncomfortably. Sienna stared at her plate. Alara's father set down his fork. That's enough, Alara. Is it? Because I don't think it is. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. I've spent weeks on this cake. I've adjusted the design 4 times. I've sourced specialty ingredients. I've pushed back other paying clients to prioritize this, and all I've gotten is vague criticism and last-minute changes. We're trying to help you make it perfect, her mother said coldly. No, you're trying to control it. There's a difference. Maybe we should take a break, Marcus suggested quietly. Maybe we should talk about payment, Alara said. The room went silent. Sienna's eyes widened. Payment? A cake like this, 9 tiers, hand-painted florals, real gold leaf, custom flavors, runs between $8,000 and $10,000. I've been planning to do it for cost, which is about $4,000, but I haven't seen a deposit. I haven't seen a contract. I haven't seen anything that confirms you're actually going to compensate me for materials. Her mother stood. We are not having this conversation. Why not? Because it's uncomfortable? Because it makes me look greedy? Because you're embarrassing yourself. Her mother's voice was sharp, cutting. In front of Marcus's family, in front of your sister. Have you no shame? Shame? Alara laughed, and it came out broken. You want to talk about shame? How about the fact that you're dropping $250,000 on this wedding but asking me to work for free? How about the fact that you're selling the house I grew up in without even consulting me? How about the fact that every time I see you, you criticize my weight, my business, my life? That's enough. Her father's voice cracked like a whip. No, it's not nearly enough. Alara stood, legs unsteady. I'm done. I'm done with the criticism. I'm done with the demands. I'm done pretending this is normal. If you walk out now, her mother said, voice like ice, don't bother coming to the wedding. The ultimatum hung in the air. Alara looked at her sister. Sienna sat frozen, eyes wide, not saying a word, not defending her, not choosing her, never choosing her. Fine, Alara said quietly. I won't come to the wedding, and I won't make the cake. She turned and walked out, leaving the samples on the table, leaving her family in shocked silence, leaving behind everything she'd been trying to hold together. She made it to her car before the shaking started, made it 3 blocks before she had to pull over, made it to the side of the road before the sobs came. Her phone rang. Sienna. She ignored it. It rang again. Her mother. She turned off the phone. Then she sat in her car on the side of the road, afternoon sun beating down, and let herself fall apart completely. She drove to Cade's building on autopilot. The security guard recognized her and waved her through. The elevator rose silently. The doors opened directly into his penthouse. He was on the phone when she stumbled in, but he took one look at her face and ended the call mid-sentence. What happened? She told him everything, the tasting, the criticism, the ultimatum. Her voice flat, emotionless, like she was reporting facts instead of the implosion of her entire family dynamic. When she finished, Cade was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, Good. She stared at him. Good? You chose yourself, finally. That's good. I just nuked my entire family relationship. You set a boundary. There's a difference. He moved closer. They'll call you, probably tonight. They'll tell you you overreacted, that you're being dramatic, that you need to apologize. How do you know? Because that's what manipulators do when they lose control. They gaslight. They guilt. They make you doubt your own perception of reality. His eyes were steady, certain. Don't answer, not tonight. Let them sit with the consequences of their behavior. And if they don't call, then you have your answer about what you mean to them. The words should have hurt. Instead, they felt like clarity. Alara sank onto his couch, exhausted down to her bones. What do I do now? Now? You breathe, you rest, you stop carrying their weight. He sat beside her. And tomorrow, you decide what you actually want, not what they want from you, what you want for yourself. I don't even know anymore. Then we'll figure it out. He handed her his phone. Order dinner. Whatever you want, my card's attached to the account. Cade, let someone take care of you for once, Alara. It won't kill you. So she ordered Thai food. Too much of it, everything that sounded good, and they ate on his couch overlooking the city, and for the first time in days, she felt like she could breathe. Her phone stayed off all night. She slept on Cade's guest bed, expensive sheets, temperature-controlled room, silence so complete it felt like being underwater. She woke at 9, disoriented, and found a note on the nightstand. Had early meetings. Make yourself at home. Coffee's in the kitchen. Don't turn on your phone yet. K. She showered, borrowed one of his shirts because she hadn't brought clothes, and found the coffee exactly where he said it would be. The city stretched out below her, alive and indifferent to her small crisis. She turned on her phone. 43 missed calls, 67 text messages. Her stomach churned, but she made herself look. Most were from her mother, anger, then guilt, then more anger. How dare you embarrass us like that? Marcus's parents think you're unstable. Call me immediately. 3 from Sienna, hurt, confused. I don't understand why you're doing this. We're your family. Please call me. 2 from her father, brief, cold, unacceptable behavior. We need to discuss this. And 1 from a number she didn't recognize. This is Marcus's mother, Patricia. I wanted to reach out privately. What you said yesterday took courage. I hope you're okay. Alara stared at that last message for a long time. Then she started typing responses. Not apologies, boundaries. To her mother, I need space. I'll reach out when I'm ready. To Sienna, I love you, but I can't keep doing this. I hope you have a beautiful wedding. To her father, I said what I needed to say. There's nothing to discuss. And to Patricia, thank you. That means more than you know. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Then she turned off the phone again and sat in the quiet morning light, feeling lighter than she had in years. Cade came home around 6, tie loosened, looking tired. You're still here, he said. Is that okay? More than okay. He set down his briefcase. Have you checked your phone? I sent some messages this morning, then turned it back off. Good. He moved to the kitchen, started pulling out ingredients. Can you cook? Passably. Perfect. You're helping. They made dinner together. Pasta, garlic, wine. Cade moved through the kitchen with the same precision he brought to everything else, and Alara found herself relaxing into the rhythm of it. Tell me about the best thing you ever made, he said, stirring sauce. Professionally or personally? Either. She thought for a moment. There was a cake I made for a little girl's 5th birthday. Her parents had almost no money. They'd scraped together $100. I knew it wasn't enough, but the mother had this look in her eyes, like she'd do anything to make her daughter happy. Alara sliced bread. I made a 2-tier princess castle, spent 15 hours on it, lost money on the job, but when that little girl saw it, she started crying. Happy tears, pure joy. She smiled at the memory. That was the best thing I ever made. Cade stopped stirring and looked at her. That's why you do this. Yeah, not for the money, not for recognition, for that moment. Is that stupid? No. His voice was soft. That's everything. They ate on the balcony, Houston's lights spreading below them like a galaxy. What happens now? Alara asked. With my family, with the bakery, with everything? Now you rebuild, on your terms. He leaned back in his chair. I have a proposition. What kind of proposition? Business. My company is hosting a major event in 3 months. Annual investor gala. 500 guests. I want you to do the desserts. Alara's heart skipped. That's huge. $25,000 plus exposure to every major player in Houston business. He met her eyes. But that's not all. I want to invest in your bakery, expansion capital, new equipment, better location, in exchange for 20% equity. Her breath caught. Why would you do that? Because I invest in things that have value, and you have value, Alara, more than you've ever let yourself believe. He leaned forward. I'm not doing this out of pity. I'm doing it because I see the potential for something extraordinary, and I want to be part of building it. Tears stung her eyes. I don't know what to say. Say yes. What if I fail? What if you succeed? He reached across the table, taking her hand. Stop preparing for failure. Start preparing for success. She looked at their joined hands, at this man who'd seen her at her lowest and offered her a future instead of judgment. Yes, she whispered. Yes. Moshe. The next week passed in a strange, suspended reality. Alara didn't go back to her apartment. She stayed in Cade's guest room, working from his dining table, rebuilding her business model from the ground up. He brought in his financial team. They analyzed her costs, streamlined her operations, identified inefficiencies she'd never noticed. Within 3 days, they'd created a comprehensive business plan that made her current operation look like a child's lemonade stand. You've been bleeding money, his CFO explained, showing her spreadsheets. Your pricing doesn't account for your time. You're undercharging by at least 40%. If I raise prices, I'll lose customers. You'll lose the wrong customers, the ones who don't value your work. The CFO tapped the screen. Trust the numbers. So she did. She updated her website, raised her prices, added a booking deposit requirement, started saying no to projects that didn't make financial sense. Within 2 days, 3 clients canceled. Within 4 days, 5 new inquiries came in at her new rate. The market will find you, Cade said, watching her field calls. You just have to stop hiding. Meanwhile, her family kept trying to reach her. Sienna called daily. Her mother sent increasingly frantic messages. Her father showed up at her bakery twice, finding it closed. She'd taken a week off for the first time in 3 years. Alara ignored all of it. They're panicking, Cade observed one night over dinner. They've lost control. They'll find someone else to control. Probably, but that doesn't mean they won't try to get you back first. He studied her. When they do, and they will, they'll use guilt, obligation, love. They'll tell you they're worried, that they miss you, that family forgives. How do you know? Because I've seen this pattern 100 times. Abusers don't let go easily, especially when their victim starts thriving without them. The word abuser hit her like a slap. They're not abusers, she protested. They're just controlling, manipulative, emotionally cruel. Cade's voice was gentle but firm. Abuse isn't always physical, Alara. Sometimes it's subtle, constant criticism, withholding approval, making you feel like you're never enough. That's abuse. She sat with that truth, feeling it settle into her bones. I don't want to see them, she said finally. Then don't. Not until you're ready, and maybe not even then. On the 8th day, Sienna showed up at Cade's building. Security called up. Miss Vance, there's a woman here asking for Alara Vance. Says she's her sister. Alara's stomach dropped. She looked at Cade. Your choice, he said. She thought for a long moment, then, send her up. Cade stood. I'll give you privacy. No, stay. She needed his steadiness, his certainty. Please. He settled back into his chair as the elevator doors opened. Sienna stepped out, looking smaller than Alara had ever seen her. No makeup, hair pulled back, jeans and a t-shirt instead of her usual polished perfection. Alara, she breathed. How did you find me? Sienna glanced at Cade, then back to Alara. I hired someone. I was worried. You hired someone to track me down? You wouldn't answer your phone. Mom and Dad are losing their minds. The wedding is in 5 days and we don't have a cake. And she stopped, tears streaming. I miss you. Alara felt the familiar pull, the urge to comfort, to fix, to make everything okay. But Cade's presence beside her was a reminder. She didn't have to. I told you I couldn't make the cake, Alara said quietly. I know, but I thought if we just talked, if I apologized. Sienna stepped closer. I'm sorry, I should have said something at the tasting. I should have defended you, but everything happened so fast and I froze, and you chose them over me. Like always. Sienna flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? Alara stood, arms wrapped around herself. Every time there's a choice between me and them, you choose them. Every time. Because they're our parents. So? That doesn't give them the right to treat me like garbage. They don't. Yes, they do. And you let them. You've always let them. Alara's voice cracked. Do you know what it's like to be invisible in your own family? To work yourself to death trying to earn approval that never comes? I see you, Sienna whispered. No, you see what you need from me. That's not the same thing. Silence stretched between them. Then Sienna said, I need you at my wedding. Why? The question seemed to stun her. Because you're my sister. And what have you done for me that makes you deserve my presence? Sienna's face crumpled. I love you. Love is a verb, Sienna. It's actions, not words. Alara felt tears on her own cheeks now. You want me at your wedding? Fine. Apologize to me in front of Mom and Dad. Tell them what they did was wrong. Set a boundary. Choose me for once. I can't do that. Then you have your answer. Sienna looked at Cade, desperate. Please tell her she's being unreasonable. Cade's voice was calm, neutral. This isn't my conversation. But you're influencing her. She wasn't like this before she met you. She wasn't free before she met me, he corrected. There's a difference. Sienna turned back to Alara, anger flashing through her tears. Fine, don't come to the wedding, but don't expect a relationship after this. I don't, Alara said softly. Not unless things change. And they won't change until you're willing to see me as something other than a convenience. Sienna stared at her for a long moment. Then she turned and walked back to the elevator. The doors closed. Alara stood there shaking as the reality of what just happened sank in. She'd just lost her sister. No, she'd just chosen herself over her sister. The difference was everything. Cade was beside her instantly, pulling her into his arms as she broke down. You did the right thing. Then why does it hurt so much? Because love and dysfunction aren't mutually exclusive. You can love someone who hurts you. Doesn't mean you have to let them keep doing it. She cried into his shoulder, grieving the family she'd never really had, mourning the sister who'd never really seen her. And when the tears finally stopped, she pulled back and looked at him. Thank you, she said. For what? For not letting me disappear. His hand cupped her face, thumb brushing away the last tears. You were never going to disappear, Alara. You're too bright for that. You just needed someone to remind you. And then, finally, he kissed her. It was gentle at first, testing, then deeper, more certain, like a promise being made and accepted in the same breath. When they broke apart, Alara felt something shift inside her, some fundamental reordering of who she'd been and who she was becoming. Stay, Cade said quietly. I am staying. No, I mean stay. Here. With me. Not in the guest room. With me. Her breath caught. Cade, I know it's fast, I know it's complicated, but I've known since the day I walked into your bakery that you were going to matter to me, and I'm done pretending otherwise. His eyes searched hers. Stay. She should have been scared, should have hesitated. Instead, she said, okay. 3 days before the wedding, her mother called from a different number. Alara almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Alara, thank God. Her mother's voice was strained. We need to talk. I don't think... Just listen. Please. A pause. The wedding is in 3 days. We don't have a cake. Every bakery in Houston is booked. Her voice cracked. I'm asking you to reconsider. No. Alara, I said no. Find someone else. There is no one else. Not on this timeline. Then you should have treated me better. Silence. Then her mother's voice went cold. I see. So this is revenge. No, this is consequences. You're being selfish. I'm being self-preserving. There's a difference. Your sister is going to be devastated. Then maybe you should have thought about that before you spent years making me feel worthless. Her mother sucked in a breath. I never... Yes, you did. Constantly. Every comment about my weight, my business, my life, every time you dismissed me or criticized me or made me feel like I was never good enough, that was you making me feel worthless. Alara's voice was steady now, clear. I'm done absorbing that. I'm done making myself small so you can feel big. If you don't make this cake, her mother said, voice shaking with fury, you are no longer part of this family. The ultimatum hung in the air. Alara closed her eyes, feeling the weight of it. The finality. Okay, she said quietly. Okay? That's all you have to say? What else is there? You've made your choice. I've made mine. You'll regret this. Maybe, but at least I'll regret it on my own terms. She hung up before her mother could respond. Then she turned off her phone, walked into Cade's arms, and let herself be held while the last ties to her old life dissolved like sugar in water. The night before the wedding, they lay in bed together, city lights painting patterns on the ceiling. Do you think I did the right thing? Alara asked. Cade's arm tightened around her. Do you? I think I did the only thing I could do and still respect myself. Then yes, you did the right thing. She rolled to face him. What if they never speak to me again? Then they've shown you exactly who they are, and you're free. Free, she tested the word. That's what this feels like, isn't it? Not relief, not happiness, just freedom. Freedom to choose, freedom to build something new, Freedom to be yourself without apology. He brushed hair from her face. That's worth losing people who never valued you. When did you get so wise? When I lost everything and realized that what I thought was everything was actually nothing. His eyes were serious in the dim light. The people who matter, the ones worth keeping, they'll love you for who you are, not who you can be for them. She kissed him, slow and deep, tasting possibility and promise and everything she'd been too afraid to want. When they broke apart, she whispered, "I'm terrified." "Good. That means you're alive." They fell asleep tangled together, and for the first time in months, Alara didn't dream of drowning. She dreamed of flying. The wedding day arrived. Alara woke to sunlight and silence. Cade was already up, showered, dressed in casual clothes. He brought her coffee in bed. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Strange, like I should be somewhere, doing something." "You are somewhere. You're here, with me." She smiled. "Yeah." They spent the day deliberately normal. Breakfast on the balcony, a walk through the museum district, lunch at a tiny Vietnamese place where nobody knew them and nobody cared. Around 4 o'clock, right when the ceremony would be starting, Alara felt her chest tighten. Cade noticed immediately. "Talk to me." "She's walking down the aisle right now, my sister, without me there." "Do you wish you were?" She thought about it honestly. "No, but I wish things were different. I wish they'd been different people. I wish I'd mattered to them the way they mattered to me." "You can't change other people, only how you respond to them." "I know." She leaned into him. "Doesn't make it hurt less." "No, it doesn't." He kissed her temple. "But the hurt will fade, and what you'll be left with is yourself, strong, whole, free." They went back to the penthouse and ordered takeout. They watched the sunset. They didn't talk about the wedding or the family or the future. They just existed together in the present moment. And somewhere across the city, Sienna got married without a 9-tier cake. Somewhere across the city, Alara's mother raged at the embarrassment. Somewhere across the city, a family gathering happened without her. But Alara wasn't there to see it. She was here, in this moment, choosing herself. And for the first time in her life, it felt... The morning after the wedding, Alara woke to her phone vibrating against the nightstand. She'd turned it back on the night before. A small act of defiance, proving to herself she wasn't hiding. 17 missed calls, all from the same unknown number. She sat up, careful not to wake Cade, and listened to the first voicemail. "Alara, this is Patricia, Marcus's mother. I need you to call me as soon as possible. It's urgent. It's about the wedding. Please." The woman's voice was tight, controlled panic barely restrained. Alara's stomach twisted. She checked the timestamp. The calls had started at midnight. The last one came in 20 minutes ago. She slipped out of bed, pulled on one of Cade's shirts, and stepped onto the balcony. Houston stretched below her, still quiet in the early light. She dialed. Patricia answered on the first ring. "Alara, thank God." "What happened?" "The cake," Patricia's voice cracked. "The bakery your mother hired, they delivered something completely different from what was ordered. Wrong size, wrong flavors, wrong everything. It looked like something from a grocery store. Your mother had a complete meltdown in front of 200 guests." Despite everything, Alara felt a small, bitter satisfaction. "I'm sorry, but I don't see how that's my problem." "It's not." "That's not why I'm calling." Patricia paused. "Your mother told everyone you were supposed to make the cake, that you had a breakdown and abandoned your sister days before the wedding, that you were jealous of Sienna and sabotaged everything out of spite." The words hit like a physical blow. "She what?" "She's been telling everyone, the guests, Marcus's family, people at the country club, that you're mentally unstable, that you had some kind of psychotic break. She showed people text messages you sent, but they were edited, taken out of context." Patricia's voice dropped. "Alara, she's destroying your reputation, your business. I've already heard from 3 people who had consultations scheduled with you. They're canceling." Alara's hand tightened on the phone. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I was there at that tasting. I saw what really happened. And because what she's doing is slander." Patricia exhaled slowly. "I'm a lawyer, Alara. Corporate litigation. And I'm telling you that what your mother is doing could destroy everything you've built. You need to respond publicly, now. The world tilted. Alara gripped the balcony railing, knuckles white. I don't know how to. You fight back. You tell the truth. You don't let her control the narrative. Patricia's voice gentled. I can help you. I want to help you. But you have to be willing to go to war. War. Against her own mother. Alara closed her eyes, nausea rising. I need to think. Don't think too long. Every hour you stay silent, her version becomes the truth. The call ended. Alara stood on the balcony watching the city wake up, feeling like she was drowning again. Behind her, the door slid open. Cade stepped out, hair messy from sleep, eyes immediately sharp with concern. What's wrong? She told him everything. His expression went from concerned to cold in the span of seconds. Show me the messages. She pulled up her phone, showed him the texts Patricia had mentioned, screenshots her mother had apparently been sharing. Messages Alara had sent, but with her mother's responses deleted. Cropped to make Alara look unhinged, unreasonable, cruel. Cade's jaw tightened as he scrolled through them. This is character assassination. What do I do? He looked at her, and something in his eyes frightened her. You let me handle it. Cade, I said I'd handle it. His voice was flat, final. Trust me. 3 hours later, Alara sat in a conference room in Cade's office building. Patricia was there, along with 2 other attorneys and Cade's head of security, a quiet man named Marcus, who looked like he'd seen too much and forgotten nothing. Patricia laid out the situation with clinical precision. Your mother has engaged in a coordinated smear campaign. She's contacted your clients, your vendors, and multiple social connections. She's claiming you had a mental breakdown and that your business is failing. She shared edited communications that paint you as unstable. Can we prove the messages were edited? Alara asked, voice hollow. Yes, I've already pulled the metadata from your phone. The timestamps don't match her screenshots. Patricia slid a folder across the table. But proving defamation in court takes time, months, maybe years. And in the meantime, your business suffers. So what do we do? Cade leaned forward. We don't go to court. We go to war. One of the attorneys, a sharp-faced woman named Chen, nodded. Mr. Rowan is correct. The fastest way to neutralize this is to release a comprehensive counter-narrative. Your story. With evidence. What kind of evidence? Marcus spoke for the first time, his voice rough. Everything. Bank statements showing you weren't compensated for previous family events. Text messages demonstrating the pattern of emotional abuse. Voicemails, emails. Anything that shows you're the victim here, not the villain. Alara felt sick. You want me to publicly expose my family? I want you to publicly defend yourself, Cade said quietly. There's a difference. Is there? Because it feels like revenge. It's not revenge, it's survival. He met her eyes. Your mother fired the first shot. You're just returning fire. Patricia pulled out her phone. I took the liberty of drafting a statement. It's factual, measured, and devastating. It includes documentation of every instance of financial exploitation, emotional manipulation, and verbal abuse spanning the last 5 years. She turned the screen toward Alara. All you have to do is approve it. Alara read the statement. It was thorough, damning, true, and it would obliterate her family's carefully constructed image. If I release this, she said slowly, there's no going back. There's already no going back, Cade said. She made sure of that. Alara's hands trembled as she scrolled through the documentation, years of pain reduced to bullet points and timestamps. Every cruel comment, every exploited moment, every time she'd been made to feel less than. How did you get all this? She asked. You gave us access to your phone and email this morning, Patricia said. We compiled everything in 3 hours. 3 hours? Alara laughed bitterly. It took 3 hours to document years of abuse. Abuse is patterns, Chen said. Patterns are easy to document once you know what to look for. Alara stared at the statement, finger hovering over the screen. 1 click. That's all it would take. 1 click, and her mother's world would shatter the same way hers had shattered yesterday. Do it, Cade said softly. Don't let her win. Alara pressed send. The statement went live on a professional PR platform at 2 o'clock. By 3, it had been picked up by local media. By 4, it was trending on social media. By 5, Alara's phone was ringing off the hook. She ignored all of it, sitting in Cade's office, staring at the city below, feeling numb. Patricia appeared in the doorway. "You need to see this." She turned her laptop around. A news segment was playing, local Houston station, afternoon broadcast. Scandal rocking Houston's elite social circles today as Alara Vance, owner of Vance Patisserie, released a detailed statement alleging years of emotional and financial abuse by her family. The statement includes extensive documentation and has sparked widespread discussion about family dynamics, and Alara turned away. "I can't watch this." "You need to," Patricia said firmly, "because it's working. The narrative is shifting. People are on your side." "I don't want people on my side. I just want to be left alone." "That's not how this works. You're public now. You have to own it." Cade's phone rang. He glanced at the screen, then stepped out to take the call. When he came back, his expression was unreadable. "That was Marcus," he said. "Your father just called a press conference." Alara's stomach dropped. "What?" 15 minutes. At their house. Every major outlet is sending crews. "What are they going to say?" Cade's jaw tightened. "Nothing good." They watched the press conference live on Cade's office television. Her father stood on the front steps of the family home, looking haggard but composed. Her mother stood beside him, red-eyed, clutching his arm. Sienna was notably absent. "We're here today to address the deeply hurtful and false allegations made by our daughter, Alara Vance," her father began, voice steady. "First, let me say that we love Alara. We have always loved her, but she has been struggling with mental health issues for years, and we've tried everything to help her." Alara felt the air leave her lungs. "Mental health issues?" she whispered. Her father continued. "We've supported her business financially, emotionally, in every way possible. We've covered her losses, paid her rent when she couldn't make ends meet, tried to help her succeed. But instead of gratitude, we've been met with hostility and now these vicious lies." "That's not true," Alara said, voice rising. "I never asked them for money. They never—" "Shh," Cade said, hand on her shoulder. "Let him finish." Her mother stepped forward, dabbing at her eyes. "Alara has always struggled with her weight, with self-esteem. We've tried to be supportive, but she interpreted our concern as criticism. We suggested therapy. She refused. We offered to pay for treatment. She refused that too." "I never refused therapy because they never offered." Alara was standing now, hands clenched into fists. "We're not here to air family grievances," her father said. "We're here to set the record straight. The allegations in Alara's statement are false. The evidence she's presented has been manipulated and taken out of context. We've hired attorneys to pursue legal action for defamation." The press conference ended. Alara stood frozen, staring at the screen. "They're lying," she said. "They're lying about everything." Patricia was already typing on her laptop. "They just made a huge mistake, provable lies in a public forum? That's defamation per se. We can destroy them." "How long?" Cade asked. "How long what?" "How long to build the case?" Patricia looked up. "Properly? 6 months. We'd need depositions, discovery, witness statements. 6 months." Cade's voice was cold. "In 6 months, the damage is done. Her business is dead. Her reputation is ruined. So what are you suggesting?" He turned to Marcus. "How fast can you get me everything?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What everything?" "Bank records, property records, tax returns. Every financial transaction they've made in the last decade." Cade's eyes were hard, calculating. "If they're claiming they supported Alara financially, prove they didn't. Show me where the money actually went. That's going to require—" Marcus paused. "Some creative approaches. I don't care what it requires. Get it done." Alara grabbed Cade's arm. "What are you doing?" "What I do best. Finding leverage. This is my family. No, this is war. And they started it." He cupped her face, forcing her to meet his eyes. "You wanted to walk away quietly. They didn't let you. So now we finish this. Completely." 48 hours later, Marcus delivered a flash drive to Cade's office. They gathered in the conference room, Alara, Cade, Patricia, Chen, and Marcus. Marcus plugged the drive into the computer. "This took some doing. I had to call in favors from people who don't do favors lightly." "What am I looking at?" Alara asked. Your parents' complete financial history for the last 12 years. Marcus pulled up spreadsheets. Bank accounts, credit cards, property transactions, investment portfolios. The numbers made Alara's head spin. Walk me through it, Cade said. Marcus highlighted a section. Here's where it gets interesting. Your parents claim they helped support your business. Covered losses, paid rent. He pulled up another screen. Here's their actual transaction history. 0 payments to Alara Vance or Vance Patisserie. Ever. Alara stared. They never gave me a dime? Not according to this. In fact, Marcus scrolled down. They withdrew $15,000 from a joint account with your name on it. Account you probably forgot existed. Opened when you were 16 for college savings. Her blood ran cold. When? 3 years ago, right around when you were starting the bakery. I was drowning financially 3 years ago, Alara said slowly. I asked them for help. They said they couldn't afford it, that they were tight on money because of… She stopped. Because of what? Patricia asked. Renovations. They said they were renovating the house. Marcus pulled up another file. They didn't renovate. They bought a vacation condo in Aspen. Cash purchase. $350,000. The room went silent. They stole my college fund to buy a vacation home, Alara said, voice hollow, while I was eating ramen and working 20-hour days. It gets worse, Marcus said. Sienna's wedding, $250,000 budget, right? Alara nodded. Your parents contributed $75,000. Marcus's parents contributed $150,000. But here's the thing. He highlighted another section. Your parents took out a loan for their contribution, 48% interest. Predatory lending. Why would they do that? Chen asked. Because they're broke, Marcus said flatly. The house is mortgaged to 90% of its value. They have $200,000 in credit card debt. Their retirement accounts are empty. They're drowning financially and have been for years. Alara felt like the floor had dropped out from under her. But the cars, the country club, the… Illusion, Cade said. All of it. They've been living on credit and borrowed time. Patricia leaned forward. So when they said they were selling the house to downsize, they're selling because they're about to default on the mortgage, Marcus finished. They have no choice. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. That's why they needed the cake for free, Alara said. They couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford any of it. The whole wedding was smoke and mirrors. And when you refused to be part of the illusion, Cade said quietly, you became the enemy. Alara stood abruptly, walked to the window, pressed her forehead against the glass. I spent years feeling guilty, feeling like I wasn't doing enough, like I was the selfish one. She laughed, bitter and broken. They were the ones drowning, and they were trying to pull me under with them. Alara, Patricia said carefully, with this information, we can annihilate them. Their press conference becomes perjury. Their defamation claim becomes fraud. We can… No. Everyone looked at her. No? Cade repeated. Alara turned to face them. Releasing this doesn't just destroy them. It destroys Sienna too. Marcus's family will find out they married into financial ruin. It'll blow up her marriage before it even starts. Sienna made her choice, Cade said. She chose them. She's still my sister. She stood by while they crucified you. I know, but I won't do the same to her. Alara's voice was steady now, certain. We don't release the financial information. We use it as leverage, privately. Chen frowned. You want to blackmail your parents? I want them to retract their statement, issue a public apology, admit they lied about the mental health claims. Alara met Cade's eyes. And then, I want them to leave me alone. Forever. Patricia nodded slowly. That could work. Give them the choice, public humiliation or private retraction. They'll never agree, Cade said. Then we release everything, Alara said, but we give them the option first. The meeting was set for the following day. Neutral location, a lawyer's office downtown. Her parents arrived looking like they'd aged 10 years in a week. Her mother's makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion. Her father's suit hung loose, like he'd lost weight he couldn't afford to lose. They sat across a conference table. No greetings, no pretense of warmth. Patricia opened a folder. Let's be direct. You made false claims in a public forum. You accused Alara of mental instability. You claimed you financially supported her business. All of this is demonstrably false." Her mother's chin lifted. "We have every right to defend ourselves against her lies. Except she didn't lie." Patricia slid photographs across the table. Bank statements, property records, the condo purchase, the loan documents. Everything in her statement was true. Everything in yours was false. Alara watched her father's face drain of color as he looked at the documents. "Where did you get these?" he asked quietly. "Doesn't matter," Cade said. "What matters is what we do with them." Her mother's hands trembled. "You can't release these. It would destroy us." "You tried to destroy Alara first," Cade said flatly. "Consider this proportional response." "What do you want?" her father asked. Patricia pulled out another document. "Public retraction. You admit you made false statements. You acknowledge Alara's claims were accurate. You apologize publicly and commit to no further contact." "You want us to humiliate ourselves?" her mother whispered. "No," Alara said, speaking for the first time. "I want you to tell the truth. For once in your lives, just tell the truth." Her mother looked at her with something that might have been pain. "You don't understand what you're asking." "I understand perfectly. You built your entire life on appearances, on pretending everything was perfect. And when I stopped playing along, when I refused to keep pretending, you tried to destroy me to protect the illusion. We were protecting the family. You were protecting yourselves." Alara leaned forward. "I'm giving you a choice. Sign this. Retract your statements. Admit you lied. Or we release everything. The debt, the fraud, the theft from my college fund. All of it." Her father's voice was barely audible. "Sienna will never forgive us." "Sienna doesn't have to know. This stays between us. You make the public retraction, and the financial records stay sealed." Alara paused. "But if you ever come after me again, if you breathe my name in public, if you contact my clients, if you so much as think about interfering in my life, everything goes public. Understood?" Her parents sat in silence. Then her mother said, "You've become cruel." The word should have stung. Instead, Alara felt nothing. "No," she said quietly. "I've become strong. There's a difference." Her father picked up the pen. His hand shook as he signed the retraction. Her mother sat frozen, tears streaming down her face. "Sign it," her father said. "It's over." Her mother signed. Patricia collected the documents. "The retraction will be issued this afternoon. You'll follow the exact wording provided. Any deviation, and the financial records go public immediately." Alara stood. "I'm done here." She walked out without looking back. The retraction hit the news that evening. Brief, clinical, devastating. "We made statements regarding our daughter Alara Vance that were inaccurate and hurtful. We acknowledge that her account of our relationship was truthful. We apologize publicly for any harm caused and will not be making further statements." The media went wild. Speculation ran rampant, but the narrative had shifted. Alara Vance, wronged daughter, survivor, fighter. Her parents, exposed liars. Alara sat in Cade's living room watching the news coverage with detached interest. "How do you feel?" Cade asked. She considered the question honestly. "Empty. Like I won something I never wanted to fight for in the first place." Winning isn't always satisfying. Sometimes it's just surviving. She looked at him. "Thank you for all of this." "You don't have to thank me." "Yes, I do. You could have walked away. This wasn't your fight. It became my fight the moment I decided you mattered to me." He pulled her close. "And you do matter, Alara, more than you know." She leaned into him, exhausted down to her bones. Her phone buzzed, a text from Sienna. "I don't know what happened, but I know Mom and Dad lied. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. I'm sorry I didn't choose you. I understand if you never want to speak to me again. But I'm here. If you ever want to talk, I love you." Alara stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed back, "I love you too, but I need time." Sienna, "I understand. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere." Alara set down the phone and closed her eyes. "Progress?" Cade asked. "Maybe, eventually." She exhaled slowly. "One day at a time." 2 weeks later, everything fell apart. Alara was at the bakery, back to work, slowly rebuilding her client base, when Patricia called. "We have a problem." Alara's stomach dropped. "What kind of problem?" "A journalist contacted me, investigative reporter. She's digging into how we obtained your parents' financial records. And? And she's asking questions about Cade's security team, about methods used, about legality." Patricia's voice was tight. "Alara, if she publishes what she's found, it could expose illegal surveillance, wire fraud, a dozen federal crimes." Alara felt the blood drain from her face. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying Marcus may have crossed some serious lines getting that information. And if this goes public, Cade's company will be implicated. His reputation, his business, everything." "How bad?" "Criminal charges, bad. Federal investigation, bad." Alara couldn't breathe. "This is my fault. I asked him to help. It's not about fault. It's about damage control." Patricia paused. "The journalist wants an interview. With you. She thinks there's a bigger story here. Wealthy CEO using illegal methods to destroy a family on behalf of his girlfriend. That's not what happened. Doesn't matter. It's the story that will sell." Alara ended the call and immediately dialed Cade. "I heard," he said before she could speak. "Cade, I'm so sorry. I never meant—" "Stop. This isn't on you." "Yes, it is. You helped me and now—" "Alara." His voice was firm. "I knew the risks. I made the choice. Marcus made the choice. This is not your burden." "What do we do?" Silence. Then, "We don't do anything. I handle this." "How?" "The same way I handle everything. I find leverage." "On a journalist?" "On the truth." He exhaled. "Meet me at the office. 1 hour. We need to talk." Oh, when Alara arrived, the office was dark except for Cade's suite. She found him standing at the window, silhouetted against the city lights. "What's going on?" she asked. He turned. His expression was carefully neutral, and that scared her more than anger would have. "The journalist is Caroline Porter, Pulitzer nominee, specializes in exposing corporate corruption." He pulled up a file on his tablet. "She's been investigating my company for 6 months, looking for dirt. The thing with your parents gave her an angle." "What kind of dirt?" "The kind that doesn't exist. But that won't stop her from implying it does." He set down the tablet. "She's building a narrative. Wealthy CEO uses illegal surveillance to help his girlfriend. What else is he capable of? What other lines has he crossed?" "But you haven't crossed other lines, haven't I?" He met her eyes. "I've pushed boundaries, Alara. I've bent rules. I've operated in gray areas that would make ethicists uncomfortable. I built an empire from nothing, and I didn't do it by playing nice." She felt something cold settle in her stomach. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that if she digs deep enough, she'll find things. Not criminal, but questionable. And in today's climate, questionable is enough to destroy a reputation. So we fight back? Like we did with my parents, No." His voice was final. "We don't fight. We separate." The word hung in the air like a guillotine blade. "Separate?" she whispered. "Publicly, we end the relationship. You distance yourself from me and my company. You claim you had no knowledge of how the information was obtained. You paint yourself as another victim of my manipulation. I won't do that. You have to. No, I won't throw you under the bus to save myself." "Alaris, no!" She stepped closer, fury and fear mixing. "You stood by me when my entire family turned against me. You gave me strength when I had none. And now you want me to betray you? To pretend you manipulated me?" "I want you to survive what's coming." "What's coming?" He looked at her for a long moment. Then, "Caroline Porter has evidence that Marcus obtained your parents' financial records through illegal hacking. She has timestamps, IEP addresses, digital footprints. She's building a case for federal wire fraud charges." Alara felt the room tilt. "Marcus could go to prison." "Marcus, me, possibly others on my team." "Yes." "Because of me? Because I asked you to help?" "No. Because I chose to help using questionable methods. That's on me." He reached out, cupped her face. "But you don't have to go down with this ship. If you distance yourself now, claim ignorance, you can walk away clean." "I don't want to walk away clean. I want to walk away with you." "That's not possible." "Why not?" "Because the story is already written, Alara. CEO abuses power for personal gain. It's a tale as old as time, and you're cast as either complicit or victim. Those are the only roles available. She pulled away from him. So that's it? We just give up? We make the strategic choice. You survive. My company survives. I take the hit. How big of a hit? His silence was answer enough. Cade, federal investigation, possibly charges, probably a settlement that costs 8 figures and destroys my reputation. He said it calmly, like discussing weather. But the company survives. My employees keep their jobs. And you get to rebuild without being dragged through the mud. I don't care about the mud. You should. Your business is just starting to recover. You attach yourself to this scandal, and it's over. Everything you've built, gone. Tears burned her eyes. So you're asking me to choose between you and my bakery. I'm telling you, there's only one choice that makes sense. For who? For you? For both of us. She laughed bitterly. You don't get to decide what's best for me. I'm not a child. I'm not a business problem to be solved. Then act like it. His voice went hard. Stop being naive. This is how the world works. Power, leverage, sacrifice. You think we can ride off into the sunset together? That's not reality. Reality is messy and brutal, and someone always pays the price. So it should be you? I can afford it. You can't. The words landed like a slap. Afford it, she repeated slowly. You think this is about money? This is about survival. No. This is about you deciding I'm not strong enough to stand by you when things get hard. She stepped back, shaking. You spent weeks telling me I was stronger than I knew, that I could handle anything. And now, the moment things get difficult for you, you push me away? I'm protecting you. I don't want your protection. I want your partnership. Well, you can't have it. His control finally cracked. This isn't a fairy tale, Ilara. I can't be your hero and your partner. I can't save you and let you save me. It doesn't work that way. Why not? Because I've spent my entire adult life building something that matters. And I won't watch it burn because I was stupid enough to fall in love with someone whose problems became my problems. The words hung in the air, cruel and honest and devastating. Ilara felt something inside her shatter. Is that what I am to you? She whispered. A problem? She saw the regret flash across his face, but he didn't take it back. You need to leave, he said quietly. Cade, please, Ilara, just leave. She wanted to fight, to scream, to make him see that they could face this together, but the look in his eyes, cold, distant, already detached, told her she'd lost him. She walked to the elevator on numb legs, pressed the button, watched the doors open. Ilara. She turned, hoping for a reprieve. I'm sorry, he said, and nothing else. The doors closed. She rode down 40 floors, walked through the lobby, stepped out into the humid Houston night. And for the second time in a month, she found herself completely alone. Only this time, it hurt so much worse, because this time she'd believed in something real, and it had turned out to be just as fragile as everything else. 3 days later, the story broke. CEO Cade Rowan, under federal investigation for illegal surveillance, screamed the headline. Ilara read it from her apartment, hands trembling. The article detailed everything: the hacking, the wire fraud, Marcus's methods. And buried in paragraph 7, sources close to the investigation suggest Rowan obtained the information to help his girlfriend, Baker Ilara Vance, in a family dispute. Her phone exploded with calls, reporters, former clients, curiosity seekers. She ignored them all. Patricia called. Ilara, you need to make a statement. Distance yourself from this. No. If you don't, you'll be implicated. Your business, I don't care about my business. Ilara's voice was hollow. Let them think what they want. Ilara. She hung up. That afternoon, federal agents showed up at her bakery. They asked questions, took her phone, confiscated her laptop. She answered honestly. Yes, she'd asked Cade for help. No, she hadn't known about the methods used. Yes, she'd benefited from the information obtained. Did Mr. Rowan tell you how he planned to obtain the financial records? The lead agent asked. No, he said he'd handle it. I trusted him. The agent made a note. And you didn't think to ask questions about the legality? Alara met his eyes. Would you question someone who was saving your life? They left 2 hours later, taking half her business records with them. Alara locked the bakery door and sank to the floor back against the wall, staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed. Sienna. I saw the news. Are you okay? Alara stared at the message, tears streaming down her face. No. She wasn't okay. She'd lost her family, lost Cade, lost her sense of direction. And she was facing a federal investigation that could destroy what little she had left. She was the furthest thing from okay. But she typed back, I will be. Because what else was there to say? What else was there to do except survive? Again. Always again. She closed her eyes and let the tears come, knowing that tomorrow she'd have to get up and fight. But tonight she could break. Just one more time, one last time. And then she'd figure out how to be whole on her own. Because that's what she'd always done. And that's what she'd have to do now, even if it killed her. Alara didn't sleep that night, or the next, or the one after that. She sat in her darkened apartment, laptop open, scrolling through news articles that dissected her life like a biology project. They pulled up photos from Sienna's wedding, distant shots of her family looking perfect. They quoted sources close to the family, painting her as unstable, manipulative, a woman who'd seduced a powerful man into breaking the law. The bakery phone rang constantly. Not orders. Cancellations. By the 4th day, she'd lost 12 clients. By the 5th, 18. On the 6th day, her landlord called. The bakery lease. He'd received complaints from neighboring businesses. The federal investigation was bad for the area's reputation. He was sorry, but he'd need her out by the end of the month. Alara hung up and stared at the walls of the shop she'd built from nothing. Everything was crumbling. Again. Her phone buzzed. Patricia. She almost didn't answer. But some stubborn part of her, the part that had survived her family, that had walked away from Cade, that refused to quit even when quitting made sense, made her pick up. What? The federal prosecutor wants to meet. Alara's stomach twisted. When? Tomorrow, 10 a.m., downtown Federal Building. Patricia paused. Alara, this is serious. They're building a case against Cade and his security team. You're a material witness. I've already told them everything I know. That's not why they want to meet. Patricia's voice dropped. They're offering you immunity. The word hung in the air. Immunity from what? I didn't do anything illegal. No, but they think you might have knowledge of other activities, other instances where Cade or his team crossed legal lines. Patricia exhaled. They want you to cooperate, testify against him. In exchange, they'll make sure you're not charged as an accessory. Accessory to what? Wire fraud, conspiracy. Take your pick. If they can prove you knowingly benefited from illegal surveillance, you're complicit. Alara felt the walls closing in. I didn't know. They don't care what you knew. They care about what they can prove. And right now, the optics are bad. Rich boyfriend helps girlfriend destroy her family using illegal methods. You look like you're in on it. So my choices are testify against Cade or face federal charges? That's the play, yes. Alara closed her eyes. I need to think. You have until tomorrow morning. Don't be late. The call ended. Alara sat in the empty bakery, surrounded by mixers and ovens and dreams that had already turned to ash. She thought about Cade, the way he'd looked at her that last night, cold, distant, already gone. I won't watch it burn because I was stupid enough to fall in love with someone whose problems became my problems. The words still cut like glass. He'd saved her. And then he'd thrown her away the moment saving her became inconvenient. So why shouldn't she save herself? Why shouldn't she tell the prosecutors everything and walk away clean? She pulled out her phone, scrolled to Cade's contact. Her thumb hovered over the call button. Then she set the phone down and buried her face in her hands. At 9:55 the next morning, Alara walked into the federal building downtown. Security. Metal detectors. Elevators that smelled like anxiety and expensive cologne. Patricia met her on the 7th floor, looking sharp and unreadable. You ready? No. Good. Honest answers only. Don't speculate. Don't volunteer information. Patricia's eyes were hard. And Alara, think very carefully about what you say. This will follow you for the rest of your life. They entered a conference room. Two prosecutors sat at a long table, a man in his 50s with steel gray hair and a woman in her 30s who looked like she ate defense attorneys for breakfast. Behind them, a stenographer, recording equipment, the full machinery of federal justice. Ms. Vance, thank you for coming. The woman gestured to a chair. I'm Assistant U.S. Attorney Morgan Chen. This is my colleague, David Strauss. Please sit. Elara sat, Patricia beside her. Chen opened a folder. We'll be direct. We're investigating Cade Rowan and his security team for multiple instances of wire fraud, computer hacking, and conspiracy. You're connected to at least one instance where illegal surveillance was used to obtain private financial records. I didn't know the surveillance was illegal, but you benefited from it. I benefited from the truth being exposed. There's a difference. Chen's expression didn't change. Did Mr. Rowan ever discuss with you how he planned to obtain your parents' financial information? No, he said he'd handle it. I trusted him. Did you ask questions about his methods? No. Why not? Elara met her eyes. Because I was drowning, and he was the only person who offered to help. Strauss leaned forward. Ms. Vance, we've reviewed the timeline. Mr. Rowan entered your life approximately 6 months before the incident with your parents. Is that correct? Yes. And in that time, your relationship became romantic? Eventually, yes. Did he ever mention other clients? Other situations where he'd helped people using, let's say, unconventional methods? Elara's pulse quickened. No. Never? In 6 months of intimate conversation, he never once mentioned using his security team to gather information? He mentioned he had resources. He never specified what kind. Chen pulled out photographs, set them on the table. Do you recognize these people? Elara looked. 3 faces. 2 men, 1 woman. She'd never seen them before. No. They're all former business associates of Mr. Rowan. All 3 claim he used illegal surveillance to gain advantage in negotiations. All 3 settled out of court with NDAs. Chen tapped the photos. Patterns, Ms. Vance. We're looking at patterns. I don't know anything about that. But you do know he was willing to break the law for you. I know he helped me when no one else would, by committing federal crimes. Patricia cut in. Is there a question, counselor, or are we just establishing that my client was a victim of Mr. Rowan's illegal activities? Chen's smile was thin. That depends on whether she wants to be viewed as a victim or a co-conspirator. The threat was clear. Elara felt her hands tremble in her lap. She gripped her knees, forcing them still. What do you want from me? She asked quietly. The truth. All of it. Chen leaned forward. We want to know every conversation you had with Cade Rowan about obtaining information illegally. Every instance where you might have knowledge of similar activities. Every detail, no matter how small. And if I cooperate? Full immunity, no charges. We'll even issue a public statement clearing you of any wrongdoing. And if I don't? Then we investigate whether you knowingly conspired with Mr. Rowan to commit wire fraud. Whether you actively participated in a criminal enterprise. Whether you should be charged alongside him. Strauss added almost gently, Ms. Vance, we know you're not the villain here. We know Rowan likely manipulated you, used your vulnerability to draw you into his web. Help us prove that. Help us stop him from doing this to someone else. Elara looked at Patricia. Patricia's expression gave nothing away. Elara looked back at the prosecutors. I need to use the restroom. In the cold fluorescent light of the federal building bathroom, Elara stared at her reflection. Exhausted eyes, hollow cheeks, hair she hadn't washed in 3 days. She looked like someone who'd been through war. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to Cade's contact again. Her finger hovered over the call button. What would she even say? They're trying to make me testify against you. What should I do? As if he'd answer. As if he'd care. I won't watch it burn because I was stupid enough to fall in love with someone whose problems became my problems. She closed her eyes, feeling tears burn behind her lids. Then she opened them and dialed a different number. Sienna answered on the second ring. Elara? I need to ask you something. Okay. Her sister's voice was cautious. What? When Marcus proposed, did you know his family had money? Silence. Sienna. Yes, I knew. Did that factor into your decision to say yes? That's not fair. I'm not judging. I'm asking. Sienna exhaled. Yes, it factored in. I'm not proud of it, but yes, I wanted security. I wanted to never worry about money the way Mom and Dad always worried. A pause. Does that make me a bad person? No, it makes you human. Elara swallowed hard. One more question. If Marcus was accused of something illegal, something he actually did, would you testify against him to save yourself? What? No, of course not. Even if it meant going to prison? Elara, what's going on? Answer the question. Sienna was quiet for a long moment. I'd like to think I wouldn't, that I'd stand by him, but honestly, I don't know. If I was scared enough, if the pressure was high enough, I don't know what I'd do. That's the most honest thing you've ever said to me. Are you in trouble? Yeah, big trouble. Can I help? Elara laughed bitterly. No, but thanks for asking. She hung up before Sienna could respond. Then she walked back into the conference room. Chen and Strauss looked up expectantly. Elara sat down, spine straight, hands folded on the table. I can't help you, she said. Chen's expression didn't change. Can't or won't? Both. I don't have information about other cases. I don't know what Cade did or didn't do for other people. All I know is what he did for me, which was illegal, which was necessary. Elara's voice was steady. My family was destroying me, financially, emotionally, publicly. I asked for help. Cade provided it. If his methods were illegal, I didn't know, and I don't regret it. Even now, facing potential charges? Even now. Strauss exchanged a glance with Chen. Ms. Vance, you're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. We can charge you. Then charge me. Patricia's hand tightened on Elara's arm. A warning. Elara ignored it. I'm not going to testify against someone who helped me when I had no one else. I'm not going to destroy him to save myself. That's not who I am. She stood. So, unless you're arresting me right now, I'm done here. Chen's eyes were cold. You're making this very difficult. Good. I'm done making things easy for people who want to use me. Elara walked out, Patricia scrambling behind her. They made it to the elevator before Patricia grabbed her arm. Are you insane? Patricia hissed. They just offered you a way out. At what cost? Your freedom, your future. My integrity. Elara pulled her arm free. I spent my entire life letting people use me, my family, my clients, everyone. I'm done. This is different. This is federal prison different. Then I'll go to prison with a clear conscience. The elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. Patricia was shaking her head. You're in love with him. Maybe. Or maybe I just refuse to become the kind of person who betrays someone to save herself. He betrayed you first. He pushed you away. To protect me. There's a difference. Is there? Elara didn't answer. They rode down in silence. Outside, Houston's heat hit like a wall. Elara stood on the sidewalk, feeling the sun burn her skin. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Hello? Ms. Vance? A man's voice, familiar but wrong. This is Marcus. Her blood went cold. Cade's Marcus? Yes. I need to see you. Today. It's urgent. Why? Because I'm about to do something stupid, and I need you to understand why. They met at a coffee shop on the edge of downtown. One of those places that was too hip for its own good, full of laptop warriors and aspiring screenwriters. Marcus sat in the back corner, looking like he hadn't slept in days. Stubble, wrinkled shirt, eyes that had seen too much and forgotten nothing. Elara slid into the seat across from him. You look like hell, she said. Back at you. He pushed a coffee toward her. Black? No sugar? That's still how you take it? She nodded, surprised he'd remembered. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Marcus said, I'm turning myself in. Elara's stomach dropped. What? Federal prosecutors. I'm going to confess to everything. The hacking, the wire fraud, all of it. His jaw tightened. I'm going to tell them Cade had no knowledge of my methods, that I acted alone. That's a lie. It's a lie that protects him. It's a lie that puts you in prison. I know. Marcus's eyes were steady. But I've been working for Cade for 8 years. He pulled me out of a bad situation, gave me a chance when no one else would. I owe him. You don't owe him your freedom. Maybe not, but I owe him my loyalty. Marcus leaned forward. You know what it's like to be drowning, Elara. To have one person throw you a rope when everyone else walks by. That's what Cade did for me, and now it's my turn. They won't believe you acted alone. They will if I give them enough detail, enough technical specifics, enough evidence. He pulled out a flash drive. This has everything, my methods, my access points. Timestamps showing Cade wasn't involved in the execution. But he ordered it. Ordering isn't the same as doing, not legally. If I take full responsibility, they'll have a harder time making charges stick to him. Elara felt tears burn her eyes. You'll go to prison. Probably. 3 to 5 years, my lawyer thinks. Maybe less with good behavior. Marcus, I didn't tell you this to make you talk me out of it. His voice was gentle. I told you because I need you to understand something. Loyalty isn't weakness. Standing by someone who stood by you, that's not stupidity. That's strength. He doesn't want me standing by him. He pushed me away because he's trying to protect you. Same reason I'm doing this. Marcus reached across the table, gripped her hand. But you're stronger than he thinks, stronger than you think. And when this is over, when the dust settles, he's going to need you. How do you know? Because I've seen the way he looks at you. Like you're the first real thing he's had in years. Like you're worth burning the world down for. Marcus's grip tightened. Don't give up on him yet. He stood, left the flash drive on the table, and walked out. Elara sat there, staring at the small piece of metal and plastic that contained enough evidence to destroy lives. Her phone buzzed. Patricia. The prosecutors want another meeting, tomorrow. They're prepared to offer a deal that includes reduced charges if you cooperate. Elara stared at the message. Then she picked up the flash drive, slipped it into her pocket, and walked out into the brutal Houston sun. That night, she broke into Cade's building. Not literally. She still had the access code he'd given her months ago. He probably hadn't changed it. Probably assumed she'd never use it. He was wrong. The elevator rose silently, 40 floors. The doors opened into his penthouse, dark except for the city lights streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows. She found him standing where she'd found him before, silhouetted against Houston's glittering sprawl. You shouldn't be here, he said without turning around. Marcus is turning himself in. That made him turn. His face was shadowed, unreadable. When? Tomorrow morning. He's taking full responsibility, claiming you had no knowledge of his methods. That's suicide. That's loyalty. She stepped closer. Something you clearly don't understand. His jaw tightened. Elara. No, you don't get to talk yet. You get to listen. Her voice shook but held. You spent weeks teaching me that I was worth fighting for, that I deserved better than people who used me and threw me away. And then the second things got hard. You did exactly what they did. You decided I was a liability and cut me loose. I was protecting you. Bullshit. You were protecting yourself. She was close enough now to see his face clearly. The exhaustion, the pain, the guilt. You were scared. Scared that if I stayed, I'd see you weren't the invincible CEO, that you were just as human and breakable as everyone else. That's not... Yes, it is. Tears streamed down her face. You told me I mattered, that I wasn't alone, and I believed you. I let myself believe that someone actually gave a damn about me for who I was, not what I could do for them. And then you proved I was wrong. He flinched like she'd struck him. I did what I thought was right. You did what was easy. You pushed me away before I could disappoint you, before I could fail you, before I could be anything other than perfect. Her voice broke. But I was never perfect, Cade. I was just real. And apparently that wasn't enough. You were everything, he said, voice raw. That's the problem. How is that a problem? Because I've built my entire life on control, on calculating risks and managing outcomes, on never letting anyone close enough to destroy me. He stepped toward her finally, his eyes blazing. And then you walked into my world with your goddamn pastries and your broken heart and your refusal to give up, and suddenly I couldn't calculate anything, couldn't control anything. All I could think about was keeping you safe. And when that meant losing everything I'd built, I panicked. So you threw me away. So I made a choice. Your future or mine. And I chose yours. Without asking me what I wanted. Because I already knew what you'd say. You'd choose to stand by me, to go down with the ship. And I couldn't let that happen. Why not? Because you deserve better. His control finally shattered. You deserve a life that isn't tainted by federal investigations and scandal, and a man who doesn't know how to love someone without destroying them. The word hung in the air. Love. He'd never said it before. Alara stared at him, heart hammering. You think you're destroying me? Look at what's happened since you met me. Your family imploded. Your business is failing. You're facing potential federal charges. How is that not destruction? My family imploded because they were toxic. My business is failing because I'm being punished for telling the truth. And the federal charges, she pulled out the flash drive. These federal charges exist because you tried to help me. Because you saw someone drowning and you threw them a rope without counting the cost. She pressed the drive into his hand. What is this? Marcus's confession. Everything he's planning to tell the prosecutors tomorrow. He's going to take the fall. Alone. Cade stared at the drive. No, I can't let him. You don't get to decide that either. He's making his choice, just like I'm making mine. What choice? The prosecutors offered me immunity, full cooperation, testify against you, and I walk away clean. She met his eyes. I said no. He went very still. Alara, I said no because I'm done letting other people dictate my worth. I'm done being grateful for scraps of affection. I'm done settling for less than what I deserve. She stepped closer, close enough to feel his breath. And what I deserve is someone who fights for me, who stands with me when things get hard, who doesn't throw me away the moment keeping me becomes inconvenient. I was trying to save you. I don't need saving. I need a partner. I don't know how to be that. Then learn. Her voice dropped to a whisper. Because I'm not leaving. I'm not testifying. I'm not walking away. I'm standing right here, in the middle of this mess, and I'm choosing you. The question is whether you're brave enough to choose me back. The silence stretched between them, thick with everything unsaid. Then Cade moved. He closed the distance in 2 steps, hands cupping her face, lips crashing against hers with desperate intensity. She kissed him back, tasting salt and fury and fear, and something that felt dangerously like hope. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, he pressed his forehead to hers. I'm terrified, he whispered. Me too. I don't know if I can protect you. I don't need protecting. I need you. His arms wrapped around her, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a world coming apart. I love you, he said into her hair. I've loved you since you told me to stop undervaluing myself. Since you showed me what real strength looks like. Since you proved that being broken doesn't mean being weak. Alara felt something crack open inside her chest, something that had been locked tight for years. I love you too, she whispered. Even when you're being an idiot, he laughed, broken and wet. Especially then? Especially then. They stood there, wrapped in each other, the city lights painting patterns on the walls. What do we do now? Alara asked. Now? We fight, together. How? He pulled back, eyes hard with determination. We stop playing defense. We go on offense. Against federal prosecutors? Against everyone who thinks we're easier to destroy separately than together. He pulled out his phone. Marcus doesn't get to fall on his sword alone. I don't get to push you away for your own good. We either survive this as a team or we go down swinging. What's the plan? First, we stop Marcus from confessing. Second, we find leverage on Caroline Porter. Third, he met her eyes. We tell our story, the real one, before anyone else can twist it. How? Press conference, tomorrow. We lay out everything. The truth about your family, the truth about what I did, and why. The truth about what we are to each other. His hand tightened on hers. No more hiding, no more letting other people control the narrative. That's insane. Maybe, but it's the only play we have left. Alara thought about it. About standing in front of cameras and reporters and the entire city of Houston, about exposing every wound, every failure, every desperate choice, about choosing radical honesty over calculated protection. Okay, she said. Let's do it. The next morning, they assembled a war room. Patricia looked at them like they'd lost their minds. You want to hold a press conference while under federal investigation? That's legal suicide. It's the truth, Cade said, and I'm done running from it. Chen, his attorney, not the prosecutor, shook her head. Anything you say can and will be used against you in court. You understand that? I understand that silence makes us look guilty. Speaking makes us look brave. Speaking makes you look reckless. Then reckless it is. They drafted a statement together. Simple, direct, devastating. Cade would speak first. Admit to using questionable methods to obtain Alara's parents' financial records. Admit he'd acted out of protective instinct, not malice. Take full responsibility for his team's actions. Alara would speak second. Explain the abuse, the exploitation, why she'd needed help, why she didn't regret accepting it. Together, they would present a united front. And they would dare the prosecutors to come after two people who'd already lost everything except each other. The press conference was scheduled for 2 p.m. At 1:30, Marcus showed up. You're supposed to be confessing, Cade said. Change of plans. I'm standing beside you instead. Marcus's expression was grim. We all go down together, or none of us do. Marcus, don't, I know what I'm doing. He looked at Alara. You were right. Loyalty isn't weakness, and I'm done being ashamed of standing by people who matter. Patricia looked at the three of them. You're all insane. Probably, Alara said, but we're insane together. At 1:45, they got the call. Caroline Porter wanted an interview. Exclusive. Before the press conference. Absolutely not, Patricia said. Why not? Cade asked. Because she'll twist everything you say, use it against you. Or she'll print the truth. And truth is the only weapon we have left. He looked at Alara. What do you think? She thought about the journalist who'd started this avalanche, the woman who'd dug into their lives looking for scandal. I think we give her the story, all of it. Let her decide what to do with it. Patricia threw up her hands. You're all going to prison. Maybe, Alara said, but at least we'll go down telling the truth. Yeah. Caroline Porter arrived at 1:55. She was younger than Alara expected. Mid-30s, sharp suit, sharper eyes. She carried a recording device and a notebook, both of which she set on the table with deliberate precision. Thank you for seeing me, she said. Let's skip the pleasantries, Cade said. You're building a story. We're here to give you the real one. I'm listening. For the next hour, they talked. Alara went first. She described her family with clinical honesty, the emotional abuse, the financial exploitation, the slow erosion of self-worth that had nearly destroyed her. Cade went second. He described seeing someone brilliant being diminished, making the choice to help, not calculating the legal ramifications because he'd been too focused on the human cost of doing nothing. Marcus went third. He described the methods he'd used, taking full responsibility for crossing legal lines, refusing to let his boss take the fall for decisions he'd made. Caroline listened without interrupting, took notes, asked clarifying questions. When they finished, she sat back. This is a hell of a story, she said. Is it the one you expected? Alara asked. No. I expected powerful man abuses resources for girlfriend, classic corruption narrative. Caroline's eyes were thoughtful. This is more complicated than that. Complications don't sell papers, Cade said. No, but truth does. She closed her notebook. I'm going to write this. All of it. The abuse, the response, the consequences. I'm going to let readers decide who the villains are. When does it publish? Tomorrow morning. Front page. Before the federal prosecutors can spin it? Before anyone can spin it. Caroline stood. For what it's worth. I hope you make it through this. She left. The room was silent. Then Patricia said, Well, that's done. No taking it back now. Good, Alara said. I'm done taking things back. At 2 p.m., they walked out to face the press. Cameras, microphones, reporters shouting questions. Cade stepped up to the podium, Alara beside him, Marcus behind them. My name is Cade Rowan, he began, and I'm here to tell you the truth. He spoke for 10 minutes. Calm, controlled, unflinching. Then Alara spoke. Her voice shook at first, then steadied. She told Houston about her family, about the wedding, about the choice she'd made to save herself. When she finished, the reporters erupted with questions. Ms. Vance, do you regret asking Mr. Rowan for help? No? Even facing federal charges? Even then. Mr. Rowan, do you admit you broke the law? I admit I made choices that had legal consequences. I also admit I'd make them again. Why? He looked at Alara. Because some things are worth the cost. The press conference ended. They walked out together, Cade, Alara, and Marcus, into the brutal Houston afternoon. What happens now? Alara asked. Now we wait, Cade said. For the story, for the prosecutors, for whatever comes next. Together? He took her hand. Together. Ishen. The article dropped the next morning. Front page. Above the fold. The Price of Truth, a Houston story. It was everything they'd said and more. Caroline had interviewed Alara's former clients, Patricia, even Sienna, who'd apparently agreed to speak. My sister isn't crazy, Sienna was quoted. She's the sanest person I know, and our family destroyed her for it. The article detailed the abuse, the exploitation, Cade's response, the federal investigation, and it ended with a question. In a world where standing up to abusers makes you a criminal, who are the real villains? By noon, it had gone viral. By 2 p.m., 3 major news networks had picked it up. By 4 p.m., the federal prosecutors issued a statement. After reviewing new evidence and testimony, we have decided not to pursue charges against Alara Vance. The investigation into Cade Rowan and his security team remains ongoing. Alara read the statement 3 times before she believed it. They're dropping charges against me. For now, Patricia said, but Cade and Marcus, we'll deal with that when it comes, Cade said. He looked at Alara. You're safe. That's what matters. We're not safe until you're safe. One battle at a time. That night they sat on Cade's balcony, watching the city lights flicker like stars. My family's going to retaliate, Alara said quietly. The article made them look terrible. Let them try. We have the truth on our side now. Truth didn't save us from the federal investigation. No. But it gave us fighting chance. He pulled her closer. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Deal? Deal. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Then she did. Hello? Heavy breathing. Then her mother's voice shaking with rage. You destroyed us! Alara's blood went cold. Mom, your father had a heart attack this morning. He's in the hospital because of you, because of what you did. The world tilted. What? The article, the humiliation, the stress. It was too much. Her mother's voice broke. If he dies, his blood is on your hands. The line went dead. Alara stood there, phone pressed to her ear, Cade's arm around her shoulders, the city spinning below. And for the first time since this all began, she wondered if the cost of truth might be higher than she could pay. Alara stared at her phone, her mother's words echoing in the silence. If he dies, his blood is on your hands. Cade's arm tightened around her shoulders. What happened? My father. Heart attack. He's in the hospital. Her voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. She says it's my fault. It's not. How do you know? She turned to face him, eyes wild. What if she's right? What if the stress of the article saw it? Stop. His hands gripped her shoulders. Your father's health problems aren't caused by you telling the truth. They're caused by years of lying, manipulating, and living beyond his means. That's on him. He's still my father. And that doesn't make you responsible for his choices. Alara pulled away, pacing the balcony. Her mind spun with images. Her father's face turning red during arguments, the way he'd clutch his chest when stressed, signs she'd ignored because acknowledging them meant acknowledging he was human. I need to go to the hospital. Alara, I need to see him. Even if he hates me, even if they all hate me, I need to... Her voice cracked. I need to know he's alive. Cade studied her for a long moment, then he nodded. I'll drive you. You don't have to. I'm not letting you face them alone. Not now, not ever. He grabbed his keys. Let's go. Houston Methodist Hospital smelled like antiseptic and fear. They found her family in the cardiac ICU waiting room. Her mother sat rigid in a plastic chair, makeup smudged, hands twisting a tissue into shreds. Sienna paced near the windows, phone pressed to her ear. Marcus, Sienna's husband, stood awkwardly by the coffee machine, looking like he wanted to be anywhere else. Alara's mother saw her first. The hatred in her eyes was immediate, visceral. "How dare you show your face here?" Sienna spun around. "Alara? I came as soon as I heard. How is he?" "Stable. For now." Her mother stood, voice shaking with barely controlled rage. "They had to do emergency surgery. 3 blockages, 90% blockage in his main artery. The doctor said if we'd waited another hour—" She stopped, overcome. Sienna moved to their mother's side, arm around her shoulders. Alara stood there, feeling like an intruder in her own family's crisis. "Can I see him?" "Absolutely not." "Mom, you've done enough damage. You and your, Her mother's eyes cut to Cade. "Your criminal boyfriend. This is your fault. All of it." Cade stepped forward, voice calm but hard. "Mrs. Vance, with all due respect, don't you dare speak to me. You've destroyed this family, turned my daughter against us, humiliated us publicly, and now my husband is fighting for his life because of the stress you caused." "The stress I caused?" Alara's voice rose. "I told the truth. That's all I did. If the truth was stressful, maybe you should have considered that before lying to everyone for years." Her mother's hand cracked across Alara's face. The slap echoed in the quiet waiting room. Sienna gasped. Marcus moved forward, then stopped, unsure. Cade went very still, the kind of stillness that preceded violence. Alara touched her burning cheek, tasting blood where her lip had split against her teeth. "Feel better?" she asked quietly. Her mother's hand trembled. "Get out, before I call security. This is a public hospital. I have as much right to be here as you do. You have no rights. Not to this family. Not to your father. You gave up those rights when you chose to destroy us." Her mother's voice dropped to a venomous whisper. "You want to know why your father had a heart attack? Because he read that article. He saw our private business aired for the entire city. He saw our financial struggles exposed. He saw his daughter paint him as an abuser, and his heart couldn't take it. I didn't paint him as anything. I told the truth. Your version. Your twisted, selfish interpretation of a family that only ever tried to love you." Alara laughed, bitter and broken. "Love? You call what you did love? We fed you, clothed you, gave you every opportunity. You used me. You exploited me. You made me feel worthless every single day of my life and then acted shocked when I finally said enough. You ungrateful." "Stop." Sienna's voice cut through the vitriol. "Just stop, both of you." Everyone turned. Sienna's face was pale, eyes red-rimmed. She looked at their mother, then at Alara. "Mom, sit down, please." "Sienna, sit down." Her mother sat, shocked into compliance. Sienna turned to Alara. "I read the article. All of it, including the part where you asked the journalist not to name me, to keep me out of it. I didn't want to hurt you. But you were willing to hurt Mom and Dad. I was willing to tell the truth. There's a difference." Sienna's jaw worked. "The thing is, Elle, I've been thinking about everything that happened. The wedding, the cake, the way Mom and Dad reacted when you set boundaries." She paused. "And I realized something. You were right." Silence dropped over the waiting room. "What?" their mother whispered. "She was right. About the exploitation, about the way we took her for granted, about the way I stood by and let it happen because it was easier than confronting you." Sienna's voice strengthened. "I've spent my whole life trying to be the perfect daughter, the one who made you proud, the one who never caused problems. And it worked. I got the approval, the support, the love. But Alara?" She looked at her sister. "Alara never got that. No matter how hard she worked, no matter what she sacrificed, it was never enough." "That's not true," their mother said weakly. "It is true. And you know it. We all know it." Sienna turned back to Alara. "I'm sorry for all of it, for not standing up for you at the tasting, for not seeing what was happening, for choosing them over you every single time." Alara felt tears burn her eyes. "Sienna, I don't expect you to forgive me. I just need you to know. I see it now. I see you now. And I'm sorry it took this long. Marcus appeared at Sienna's side, hand on her shoulder. For what it's worth, I'm sorry too. I should have said something at that tasting. Should have called out the way they were treating you. Alara stared at them, these people who'd been complicit in her pain, now offering apologies that felt both too late and desperately needed. I appreciate that, she said quietly. But I didn't come here for apologies. I came to see my father. He doesn't want to see you, her mother said. Did you ask him? Or are you deciding for him? Before her mother could answer, a doctor emerged from the double doors. Vance family? They all turned. The doctor looked tired, his scrubs wrinkled. Mr. Vance is out of surgery. It went well. We were able to clear the blockages and place 3 stents. He's stable. Alara's mother sagged with relief. Can we see him? He's in recovery, awake but groggy, 2 visitors at a time. The doctor's eyes swept the group. Immediate family only. I'm his wife, and this is our daughter Sienna. Her mother stood, pointedly ignoring Alara. I'm also his daughter, Alara said. The doctor looked between them, sensing the tension. Like I said, 2 at a time. You'll have to work that out among yourselves. He disappeared back through the doors. Alara's mother turned to her. You are not seeing him. Not after what you've done. You don't get to make that choice. I'm his wife, and I'm his daughter, whether you like it or not. Ladies. Cade's voice was quiet but firm. Your husband, your father, just had emergency heart surgery. Maybe focus on that instead of whatever grudge you're nursing. Her mother's eyes went cold. You don't get to tell me how to handle my family. You're right, I don't. But I can tell you that if Alara doesn't get to see her father, if something happens and she never gets that chance, you'll have to live with that. Not me. You. The words landed like stones. Her mother stared at Cade, then at Alara. 5 minutes, she said finally. You get 5 minutes, and then you leave. Forever. Her father looked small in the hospital bed. That was Alara's first thought. This man who'd loomed so large in her life, distant, critical, impossible to please, looked shrunken beneath white sheets and beeping monitors. His eyes were closed. An oxygen cannula ran beneath his nose. IV lines snaked from both arms. Alara stood in the doorway, suddenly uncertain. Cade's hand found the small of her back. I'll wait outside. Stay, please. He nodded and moved to stand by the window, giving her space but remaining present. Alara approached the bed slowly, like approaching a wounded animal. Dad? Her father's eyes opened, unfocused at first, then sharpening when they landed on her face. Alara. His voice was rough, damaged by the breathing tube they'd removed an hour ago. Hi. She pulled a chair close to the bed, sat down. How are you feeling? Like I got hit by a truck. A pause. Your mother called you. She said it was my fault. The heart attack. He was quiet for a long moment. Then, it wasn't. Alara's breath caught. What? The heart attack. It wasn't your fault. He turned his head to look at her fully. I've had heart problems for years. High blood pressure, high cholesterol. The doctor's been warning me. I ignored him. But Mom said, your mother says a lot of things. Doesn't make them true. He coughed, wincing. The article didn't give me a heart attack, Alara. 30 years of stress and bad choices did. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I didn't want to hurt you. I know. I just wanted to be free. I know that too. He looked at the ceiling, jaw working. I've been lying here thinking about everything. The wedding, the cake, the way we treated you. A long pause. Your mother and I, we had this idea of what a family should look like. Perfect, successful, admirable. And when you didn't fit that image, when you struggled with your weight or your business or... He stopped. We tried to fix you instead of accepting you, and that was wrong. Alara couldn't speak past the lump in her throat. I'm not good at this, her father continued. Feelings, apologies. Your mother's better at words. I'm better at... He gestured vaguely. Showing up. Being present. But I wasn't present for you, not the way you needed. I saw you working yourself to death, and I told myself you were building character. I saw you hurting, and I told myself you were being dramatic. His voice cracked. I failed you, as a father. And I'm sorry. The apology she'd waited her entire life to hear. And it didn't fix anything. Didn't erase the years of pain. Didn't undo the damage. But it cracked something open inside her chest, some small door she'd kept locked tight. Thank you, she whispered. He reached out, hand trembling, and she took it. They sat like that for a while. Father and daughter, broken but trying. Finally, he said, The man with you, Cade. Yes. He loves you? She glanced at Cade, who was staring out the window, giving them privacy. Yes. And you love him? Yes. Her father squeezed her hand weakly. Then hold on to that. Don't make the mistakes your mother and I made. Don't let pride or fear or other people's expectations destroy something real. I won't. Good. He closed his eyes, exhausted. I'm tired now. I should let you rest. Elara. Yes? I'm proud of you, for standing up for yourself, for building something from nothing, for being stronger than I ever taught you to be. His voice was fading. I should have said that years ago. She leaned down, kissed his forehead. Rest, Dad. I'll come back tomorrow. Your mother won't like that. I don't care what she likes. Not anymore. The faintest smile touched his lips. That's my girl. Well, outside the hospital, the Houston heat wrapped around them like a wet blanket. Elara stood on the sidewalk, breathing in the humid air, feeling like she'd just survived something. You okay? Cade asked. I don't know. Ask me tomorrow. She looked up at him. He apologized. I heard. It doesn't fix anything. No, but it's a start. They walked to the car in silence. Cade drove them back to his penthouse, and Elara stared out the window, watching Houston slide past in a blur of glass and concrete. What happens now? She asked. With your family? With everything. Cade was quiet for a moment. The federal investigation is still ongoing. They're focusing on Marcus and me. Your immunity stands. What about Marcus? Is he really going to take the fall? We're negotiating. My attorneys think we can get him a deal. Probation, maybe community service. He won't do prison time if we can help it. And you? I'll probably face fines, maybe some charges. We'll see. He glanced at her. Whatever happens, it won't touch you. I don't want you protecting me anymore. I want us protecting each other. Even if it means standing in the fire with me? Especially then. He pulled into the parking garage, killed the engine. They sat in the sudden silence. I meant what I said, Cade finally spoke. I love you. And I'm done pushing you away to protect you from consequences I created. Good, because I'm not going anywhere. She turned to face him. We're in this together, all of it, the investigation, the fallout, whatever comes next. It's going to be hard. I've been through hard before. At least this time I'm not alone. He cupped her face, thumb brushing her cheekbone. You're never alone again. That's a promise. They kissed in the dim parking garage, tasting salt and exhaustion and stubborn hope. When they pulled apart, Elara said, I need to check on the bakery. Tomorrow. Tonight you rest. Tomorrow I have clients to call, orders to fill, a business to rebuild. Tomorrow we rebuild together. 3 weeks later, Elara stood in front of a new storefront, not her old cramped space between the dry cleaner and nail salon. Something better, bigger. In a neighborhood where people walked by with money to spend and appreciation for craft. The lease papers sat on a table inside, waiting for her signature. Cade stood beside her, patient. It's a lot of money, she said. It's an investment. In you. In us. What if I fail? Then we learn and try again. He handed her a pen. But you won't fail. You're too stubborn for that. She looked at the space. Pristine white walls, commercial kitchen visible through a glass partition, room for a small cafe area. Everything she'd ever dreamed of. And it terrified her. What if I'm not ready? You've been ready. You just needed someone to believe in you enough to make you believe in yourself. She signed the papers. Her hand shook, but the signature was clear. There's one more thing, Cade said. He pulled out another document. A contract. What's this? Partnership agreement, 20% equity for my investment. You maintain controlling interest and creative control. I provide capital and business infrastructure. He met her eyes. This isn't charity, Alara. This is business. I believe this bakery will be successful. I want to be part of that success. She read through the contract. Fair terms. Protective of her autonomy. Structured to benefit both of them. You really think this will work? I know it will, because you're going to make it work. She signed the partnership agreement too, and just like that, her new life began. The grand opening was 6 weeks later. Alara had worked 18-hour days getting ready. New menu, new branding, new everything. The line wrapped around the block by 8 a.m. Former clients who'd abandoned her during the scandal showed up, sheepish and apologetic. She served them with professional courtesy and nothing more. New clients came too, people who'd read the article, who'd seen her press conference, who wanted to support someone who'd stood up for herself. Patricia stopped by around noon looking impressed. You did it. We're not successful yet. This could be a one-day spike. It won't be, trust me. Houston loves a comeback story. Sienna came by at 2, Marcus in tow. She ordered a dozen cupcakes and lingered by the counter. This place is beautiful, Elle. Thank you. I mean it. It's everything you talked about wanting. I'm really happy for you. Alara studied her sister. The genuine warmth in her eyes, the absence of the competitive edge that used to define their relationship. Do you want to grab coffee sometime? Sienna asked. Just us. No husbands, no parents, just sisters. I'd like that. Sienna smiled, real, unguarded, and left. Kate arrived at closing time with champagne and takeout. They sat on the floor of the new bakery, surrounded by empty display cases and the lingering smell of sugar, and toasted to new beginnings. How does it feel? He asked. Terrifying. Exhilarating, right. She leaned against his shoulder. Like I'm finally doing what I'm supposed to be doing. You are. They ate in comfortable silence, watching the Houston sunset paint the windows gold. I got a call from the prosecutors today, Cade said eventually. Alara's stomach tightened. And? They're offering a plea deal. No jail time for Marcus or me. Significant fines. 5 years probation. Community service. And I have to implement new compliance protocols across my company. Are you going to take it? My attorneys say I should. It's better than risking a trial. But it means admitting guilt. Accepting that what I did was wrong. He looked at her. Was it wrong? Alara thought about her father in that hospital bed, her mother's rage, the price they'd all paid for truth. I think intentions matter, she said slowly. You didn't set out to break the law. You set out to help someone who was drowning. The methods were questionable, but the motive was pure. The law doesn't care about motives. No, but I do, and I'm grateful, even knowing what it cost. He kissed her temple. I'm taking the deal. Marcus is too. We sign next week. How do you feel about that? Relieved, ready to move forward, ready to build something legitimate instead of operating in gray areas. He paused. I'm stepping down as CEO. She jerked upright. What? Why? Because the company needs a fresh start, clean leadership, someone who isn't tainted by scandal. His expression was calm, resolved. I'm staying on the board, maintaining ownership, but I'm handing day-to-day operations to my COO. It's time. What will you do? Invest, mentor, build things that matter. He smiled. Spend more time with you. I might get sick of you. Risk I'm willing to take. They finished the champagne as night settled over Houston, and Alara felt something she hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not the absence of problems. There would always be problems. But the presence of certainty that she could handle whatever came next. 2 months later, her father was released from the hospital. Alara visited him at the new condo her parents had moved into. A modest 2-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. No more sprawling estate. No more pretense of wealth they didn't have. Her mother answered the door. The hostility was still there, simmering beneath forced politeness. He's resting in the living room. Thank you. Alara found her father in a recliner, oxygen tank beside him, reading the newspaper. He looked better, color back in his face, eyes clearer. Elara, right on time. I brought lunch. She held up a bag from the bakery. Your favorite, chicken salad on wheat. The doctor says I need to watch my sodium. I made it with low sodium ingredients and no mayo, Greek yogurt instead. He raised an eyebrow. Fancy. I learned a few things. They ate together, making small talk about his recovery, the bakery, the weather. Finally, he set down his sandwich. Your mother wants me to ask you to stop visiting. Alara's chest tightened. And what do you want? I want you to keep coming, once a week, if you're willing. I'm willing. Good. He picked up his sandwich again. She'll get used to it eventually, or she won't. Either way, you're my daughter, and I'm done pretending otherwise. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was something. A beginning. 6 months after the grand opening, Vance Patisserie was featured in Houston Magazine. Full spread. Photos of Alara's creations. Interview about her journey from struggling baker to successful entrepreneur. The article mentioned the scandal but framed it differently than the earlier coverage. Alara Vance transformed personal tragedy into triumph, building a business that celebrates authenticity and resilience. Orders tripled overnight. Alara had to hire 3 new employees, then 2 more. By the end of the year, she was profitable. Not just surviving, thriving. Cade's investment had paid off. Their partnership, business and personal, had solidified into something neither of them had expected, but both desperately needed. One evening, as they were closing the bakery together, Cade said, I have something for you. He handed her a small box. Alara's heart stuttered. Cade, it's not what you think. Open it. Inside was a key. What's this? Key to my penthouse. Our penthouse, if you want it to be. He met her eyes. Move in with me. Officially. Not as a guest, not as someone I'm protecting, as my partner. We're already partners. In business, I want more. I want mornings together, nights together, everything together. Alara stared at the key, feeling the weight of the decision. 6 months ago, she'd been alone, broken, drowning. Now she was being offered a life she'd never imagined possible. Yes, she said. Yes? Yes, I'll move in. Yes to mornings and nights and everything. She stepped closer, key clutched in her hand. Yes to us. He kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise. When they pulled apart, both smiling, Alara felt something settle inside her. Not happiness exactly, something steadier than that. Wholeness, the kind that came from choosing yourself first and finding someone who chose you back. Home. 1 year after the wedding that changed everything, Alara stood at the same country club where Sienna had gotten married. But this time, she was a guest, a paying guest, at an event for Houston's emerging entrepreneurs. The ballroom glittered with the same opulence that had once made her feel small. But tonight, she belonged here, not because of family connections, because she'd earned it. Vance Patisserie was being honored as Best New Business. Alara wore a dress that fit perfectly, cost more than her first month's rent used to be, and made her feel powerful instead of exposed. Cade stood beside her in a sharp suit, hand at the small of her back. Nervous? He asked. Surprisingly, no. Good, because you're about to win. He was right. When they called her name, Alara walked to the stage with her head high and her shoulders back. The award was heavy in her hands, crystal and brass and validation she no longer needed but appreciated anyway. She looked out at the crowd. Her employees were there, cheering. Patricia, Marcus, Chen, Sienna and her husband, clapping enthusiastically. Even her father, oxygen tank beside him, pride clear on his weathered face. Her mother wasn't there, hadn't responded to the invitation. That was okay. Alara had learned that love without respect was worthless, and she'd rather have respect from strangers than hollow affection from people who'd never valued her. She gave a short speech, thanked her team, thanked the people who'd believed in her, didn't mention her family by name, didn't need to. This moment was hers, built by her hands, earned by her refusal to quit. When she walked off stage, Cade was waiting. Proud of you, he said. Proud of us. They left the event early, drove through Houston's gleaming streets, and went home to the penthouse that was now theirs together. Alara stood at the floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the city that had tried to break her and failed. Cade came up behind her, arms circling her waist. "What are you thinking?" he asked. "That a year ago, I was sitting on a concrete barrier at my sister's wedding, calling you because I had no one else. And now? Now I have everything I never knew I needed." She turned in his arms. "A business I'm proud of. Work that matters. People who see me. And me. And you." She kissed him softly. "Especially you." They stood there as Houston glittered below, two people who'd found each other in the wreckage and built something new from the ruins. Not perfect, but real. Not easy, but worth it. Alara had learned the hardest lesson life had to offer, that belonging wasn't something you earned through sacrifice and self-diminishment. It was something you claimed by knowing your worth and refusing to settle for less. She'd lost a family that never valued her, but she'd gained herself. And in the end, that was the only thing that mattered. 3 years later, Alara opened her third location. 5 years later, she published a cookbook that became a bestseller. 7 years later, she and Cade got married in a small ceremony with only the people who mattered. Not her mother, who'd never apologized and never would, but her father, who'd spent his remaining years trying to repair what he'd broken. Sienna, who'd become the sister Alara always needed. And Marcus, both of them, Cade's security chief and Sienna's husband, who'd become family in the truest sense. When people asked Alara about her success, she always told them the same thing. "I stopped waiting for permission to be myself, and everything else followed." It was the truth. Not the whole truth. The whole truth included pain and loss and sacrifices that still ached on quiet nights. But it was the truth that mattered. The one she'd fought for. The one she'd earned. And standing in the bakery she'd built from nothing, surrounded by people she loved and work that fulfilled her, Alara finally understood what her father had meant in that hospital room. Strength wasn't about never breaking. It was about breaking and choosing to rebuild anyway. It was about standing in the wreckage and saying, "This isn't the end. This is where I begin." And she had begun. Again and again and again. Until the life she was living finally matched the one she deserved. Not perfect. Not easy, but hers. Completely, undeniably, irrevocably hers. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything.